One Piece Supreme Control, Chapter 761 to 780. Chapter 761 Purpose. When Shaya said this sentence, she smiled, as if it was a casual joke. But once it was exported, it brought great pressure on Trunks and Boomer. Impossible. After a long time, Bulma gritted her teeth and said. Sha was stunned and glanced at Trunks. When she noticed the firmness and mortal determination in the other's eyes, she was silent for a while. He could see that both of them were serious. And this finished product, he can only understand a general idea, and the core ingredients inside can't be understood at all. Even if it weren't for the information revealed in the words of the two people just now, he would not have known that the aircraft in front of him was a big guy who could travel through time and space. Kill them and you won't get this thing at all. While frowning and thinking, Shaya was in trouble. This is not a problem that can be solved by killing and slaughtering. If it was, he would have done it without hesitation. Murder is second, and obtaining the secret of this time machine is the most important. After thinking about it, the two sides fell into a confrontation. Trunks watched the man in front of him vigilantly. He didn't feel the presence of huge energy in the other person's body, but the strangeness of its inexplicable appearance in the room still made him cautious. Just when both parties were nervous, Cherria finally spoke again. With a smile on his face, he put away the fierce killing intent in his eyes, and smiled calmly. I'll help you, I still know a little bit about these techniques. Maybe, I can play a role in saving the world for you. The ghost wants to save the world. The purpose of what he said is just to peek into the mystery of the time machine. This sentence made the two of them stunned, and after looking at each other, they began to hesitate. After all, the other party looks like a normal human being. Under the circumstances that the world has been reduced to such a situation, one more human being is also a happy thing for them. Are you human too? Bulma asked suspiciously. Human. Sha was taken aback for a moment, then shook her head. No. If I have to talk about race, I am a hybrid of Saiyan and human. Well, these two bloodlines occupy the vast majority of my body. Shaya said in a low voice. After becoming powerful and traveling the universe, Char's personality seems to have undergone a very obvious change. Deep down in his heart, he was still ruthless and even more cruel, but on the surface, it made him no different from ordinary humans. This may be the real devil, covering his cruelty with kindness, but his heart is degenerate and dark to the point of evil. Saiyan hybrid. Trunks and Boomer were shocked. It is unimaginable that there are such human beings in this world. Are you great? Trunks excitedly said that if there is one more compatriot, then they will succeed and the hope of saving the world will be even greater. Great. Shaya glanced at Trunks, with a look of obvious contempt in his eyes. Compared to you, it should be considered stronger. So confident. Trunks looked at Shaya in surprise. Have a chance to try it. I'm afraid of killing you. Shaya said coldly, and then walked straight to the time machine. Her eyes were obviously interested, looking at the mysterious instrument in front of her, emitting a strange light. Don't look at you two, Trunks, go get me the number 3 nut. And you, Char, give me the big wrench on the table. Don't you feel ashamed that 2 big men are here, and let me, a female class, do repairs and maintenance? Trunks was ashamed, and Char was expressionless, just turned around and did as Boomer said. In this way, under the circumstance of holding a special purpose, Sha unexpectedly lived with Trunks Boomer in a strange way. Such a scene, in the past, was simply unimaginable. The existence of gods and mortals together, no matter how you think about it, is incredible. Gradually, half a year has passed. This year, Trunks is 17 years old. During this time of living together, the shock and surprise in Shaya's eyes became more and more, and at the same time, the eyes that looked at Bulma were also full of admiration. Even if his strength is sky high, this woman can't survive even a second in front of him, but he does admire this woman. After wandering and living in the universe for so many years, what kind of talent, genius, he has not seen. However, he has never heard of a human being with such a peculiar mind as Bulma who has delved into the theory of time and space so deeply. This time machine has basically been successful so far. He is 100% sure that this thing is really good. Boy, don't look at me like this, I can be your mother at my age. Bulma exhaled a cigarette and waved towards Shaya. Hearing Boomer's voice, Char, who was using a rag to clean the surface of the time machine, was startled. Mother. From being created to now, he has really never heard who his mother is. Maybe he didn't have a mother at all. However, he had to admit that his life with Trunks and Boomer during this period of time made him feel the warmth that he had never experienced before. In that eternal winter, it seems that spring is beginning to come, and in the darkness, there is also a trace of light and warmth shining. He knew that there was some kind of peculiar change in his heart, but he could also. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. Sure, he's still who he is, and that hasn't changed. After another 3 days, Bulma stopped Char, who was working. Trunks was beside Char, and when he saw Char was stopped, he smiled and joked. Shaya, mother called you, there must be nothing good, haha. Yeah, Shaya was used to the fact that every time he was stopped by Boomer, there must be a lot of hard work, or if he didn't do a good job, he would be trained. Putting down the work in hand, Shaya walked towards the house. Bulma, what's the matter? After entering the room, Sha asked. Sha, come here. Taking a deep breath, Bulma didn't put his eyes on Shaya, but just reached out and beckoned. Shaya felt strange in her heart. After walking over, she found that Boomer had been staring at a blueprint on the table. I know your purpose, it has always been this drawing. The moment he saw the blueprint, Shaya's whole body trembled, and at the same time, Bulma's voice came over. Woo! White smoke rings began to ripple in the room, and Boomer's voice came out clearly. Chapter 762 The Origin of Shaya. I can give you the drawings, but I hope you can do good things with them. I can see from the time spent together. You are a good boy, and like Trunks, you have a kind heart. Bulma's words were very serious, but in Shaya's ears, it made him feel weird. Good boy, kind heart. But Shaya's surface was still calm, and his mood did not fluctuate at all. Is this the blueprint for the time machine? Calmly asked Bulma. At the moment when he was about to get the blueprint, there was nothing like excitement in Shaya's heart, just peace. Yes, it took me nearly 20 years to perfect it. As long as I follow this drawing, I can build a time machine. Including the theory of space and time, how to pry open the barrier between space and time, and complete the time and space shuttle, it's all in it. Boomer nodded and took a puff of his chimney. Shaya walked closer, glanced at it, and flickered in her eyes. Quick memory. Almost instantly, all the information on the drawing was imprinted in his mind, just like a computer transmitting data, without the slightest loss, and as long as the brain does not delete it, it will be remembered forever. The blueprint is given to you, work hard, and hope that one day, you and Trunks can save the world together. Boomer said softly. Shaya's eyes flashed, but she didn't respond, she just turned her head and left the room. He didn't take away the blueprint, but at the moment of seeing it, everything was already in his heart. After getting outside, Trunks asked him jokingly. Mom didn't ask you to do anything difficult, did she? No, Sha shook her head. On this day, Shaya's performance was as normal as usual, without revealing any strange points or doubts. Another month later, one day, Shia disappeared here. No matter how Bulma and Trunks searched, Char was never seen again. The loss of Shaya's whereabouts undoubtedly caused the two of them to be hid and lost for several days. In the dimly lit room, Boomer slowly lit a cigarette, and then took out a thick old notebook from the drawer. After quietly looking at it for a long time, Boomer shook his head and locked it in the room again. Compared with the design drawing, this notebook is equally important. It is her record of researching time and space, time machine, and every moment for so many years. Every mistake she has experienced, she has clearly recorded it. She only gave Shaya's design drawings, but did not give him a notebook, because she had always been afraid of this young man in her heart. Mom, why is this? Trunks, who heard Boomer tell him about this matter, asked suspiciously. In his sense, Shaya is just a little withdrawn and doesn't like to talk, but he is a good person. You were born late, you may not know him, but when I was young, I remember him deeply. Boomer let out a sigh of relief, panic in his eyes. Compared to number 17 and 18, this young man is also an extremely cruel guy. Have you ever been together for so long? Has he asked about a man named Ching? Blue. Trunks was startled, because Char had indeed asked this person. He did ask, but I don't know, and he didn't ask any more after hearing that. That's right, Shaya, this existence that has caused countless Earthlings to fall into terror and despair. I really did not expect that one day, he will come back. I thought he had been killed by Ching. Boomer sighed. The current Earth really made her feel smoky, the powerful number 17 and 18, plus a more terrifying Char. Trunks, on the other hand, was confused. Mom, who is Ching? Who is Sha? Ching. Boomer fell into the memory, and also remembered what Vegeta had said to him. After a long time, she spoke. Your father Vegeta once said that Ching is the most outstanding warrior the Saiyans have produced for countless years, no one. He is the first person to transform into a Super Saiyan, and he is also the mentor who gave the transformation method to the Saiyans. He is also the great elder of the Saiyan family, and his father, the two great Saiyans. One of the pillars. At the same time, Ching is the most powerful warrior in the universe. In the entire universe, no one is his opponent, he is invincible. Hearing this series of titles, Trunks fell into a daze. The strongest in the universe. Didn't you say that Uncle Wukong is the number one? He asked suspiciously. Goku is only his junior in terms of seniority. Vegeta said that Sun Wukong and Ching had a battle, but they couldn't even beat the latter's finger. Boomer said with a smile. What? Trunks was deeply shocked this time. He clearly knew how strong Sun Wukong was. Before his death, Uncle Wukong had already surpassed his existence. In a battle with Na Ching, I am afraid that no matter how weakened it is, it will not be much weaker than himself. But it was such an existence that it did not resist the finger named Ching. Uncle Ching. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. So strong. Hearing that Ao was a Saiyan, Trunks couldn't help calling his uncle. Uncle, his age is enough to be your grandfather. Your father has great respect for Ching and calls him an uncle. If he hears you say that, I'm afraid he will scold you. Boomer shook his head and smiled. Trunks scratched his head, a little embarrassed. What about the others? I don't know either. Bringing up this question, Bulma's face became heavy again. I don't know which day Ching will leave the earth, and since then, it has never been seen again. And when it comes to his departure, we have to mention Ching's son, this Shaya. Ao's son, Char. Trunks was truly shocked. He really didn't expect that Shaya, who had been with him for so long, was actually the son of the legendary Ching, the strongest in the universe. Yes, Shaya's birth is a bit bizarre. He was not born with a womb, but was cultivated by a group of scientists from Qingrang who collected his own genes and the genes of Earthlings. Artificial man. Trunks said solemnly. That's not true, he's purely human, as he said, a Saiyan-human hybrid. Boomer shook his head, paused, and his face became solemn. However, his power, his talent, has caused the human race to fall into a real panic. Chapter 763 Fluctuation. He was able to transform into a Super Saiyan mode within a few months of his birth, and his strength reached the same level as that of a normal Saiyan. A few years later, he even appeared on the arena of the #1 martial arts club in the world. He appeared in an extremely tyrannical manner and challenged Ching. As Buma said, he seemed to be back in those days when he saw Ching and Sha, who were in high spirits and incomparably strong on the competition stage. Shaya is cruel, ruthless, and shows no mercy to human beings. On the contrary, Ching is kind-hearted and always has a smile on his face, just like Wukong. These two people are the most contradictory extremes, but they are truly blood-related father and son. But, they are going to kill each other. Boomer's tone accelerated, making Trunks nervous. Kill each other? Why? Trunks asked. Shaya's appearance was originally an opponent that Ching created for himself. After he was born, Shaya's ferocity and cruelty triggered Ching's killing intent. And Char's own evil position has also made him the enemy of everyone. This is a powerful enemy who is hostile to the Earth and humans. Trunks was startled. During this period of time, he could not feel Char's evil and cruelty at all. The two even often joked and played together, and he even found a sense of Godin in the latter. How could such a person be a ruthless killer? The two started a war. At that time, their power would have reached or even surpassed yours. The Earth could not bear the impact of such a force. Therefore, Xinjiang took Shaya away from the Earth. Bulma took another puff of cigarette and said slowly. Away from Earth. Trunks showed a puzzled expression. Well, Ching has mastered a means of teleportation, which can instantly appear in any corner of the universe. Your uncle Wukong actually has such a method, unfortunately. Shaking his head, Boomer said no more. Teleportation. Trunks expressed curiosity. And after that, is Ching okay? Ching appeared on the Earth again, but not long after that, he disappeared from the Earth along with his lover, Yi Chi's family. Since then, Goku, Vegeta, haven't seen him. Until today, he has never appeared. Instead, this guy Shaya actually appeared in front of us. Boomer said softly. What surprises me is that his temperament seems to have changed drastically, which he had never done with humans before. Saying that, Bulma also became suspicious. This is also the reason why I gave him the design. After all, when I travel back to the past and change the future, these things may never be used for a long time. If he is still like before, even if he dies, he will never give it to him. Like Vegeta, maybe he's been through something different. Trunks nodded with a smile on his face. He often heard his mother tell stories about his father, who was once an evil and ruthless warrior until he met his mother. Okay, knowing his horror, if you meet him again in the future, you have to be careful. Even if he didn't show it on the surface, he used to be a ruthless guy. Boomer warned Trunks, and then the person nodded obediently. Go on with your homework, time machine, it'll be ready for use in no time. The two looked at the time machine above their heads again, and both showed smiles. Hope, getting closer and closer, which makes people inexplicable joy. At the moment when Boomer described the relationship between Ching and Char, in the vacuum outside the Earth's atmosphere, a figure appeared twisted. Boom! The crimson light wave appeared in Shaya's hand, and in the blink of an eye, there was a football field as huge, and the energy contained in it was enough to blow up the Earth in an instant. The design of the time machine has been obtained, and the Earth seems to have no need to exist. He slowly stretched his right hand to the top of his head, and the scarlet qigong wave fluctuated even more violently, as if it would explode at any time. His right hand trembled slightly, and in the next moment, he would destroy the planet in front of him. However, just as he was about to throw out the qigong wave, the movements of Shaya's whole body actually stagnated. As if a powerful force imprisoned him, it actually controlled him so much that he couldn't wave this huge qigong wave. In front of his eyes, Bulma's gentle, mother-like expression appeared every time he looked at him, and Trunks really regarded him as a brother. At this moment, this hand could not be moved no matter what. Gradually, the redness in his hands began to shrink, and finally dissipated. Looking down at the blue earth in front of him, a sneer appeared on the corner of Char's mouth. Boring human emotions. With a twisted figure, Shaya disappeared into the sky. In the vacuum, a tear floated quietly, as if to prove something. With a shake, Shaya has appeared in another corner of the universe. Ching, my father, where on earth are you now? There was a strong will to fight in his eyes. His past failures have always made him feel ashamed. That person is also the goal that he will surpass in his life. However, he could not find him. Like the other. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. If you want to deliberately need to find yourself, you can't find the other party yourself. Even if he entered the advanced level of the gods, he still couldn't find the breath of the other party. This once made him suspicious and strange. Could it be that the other party has also entered the realm of the gods? This is not impossible. After all, almost everything in him is inherited from the other party, but he surpasses it. Continuing to walk in the universe, a month later, Xia was standing in the outer space of a planet, looking at the planet strangely. There are some strange fluctuations. This fluctuation seems to be the time-space fluctuation mentioned in the design diagram. He was keenly aware that on the planet in front of him, it seemed that the fluctuations of time and space were rippling. His eyes flashed and became sharp, and Xia stabbed his head towards the planet. He wanted to see what was going on. After more than 10 breaths, Xia found out what was going on. An old woman with a hat on her head was muttering something in her mouth, and Xia instantly understood that it was a conjuration. This old woman with a witch hat is summoning the soul of the underworld. Interesting. Char's mouth showed a smile. Chapter 764 Crossing the Dimension. It was the first time he had seen such a scene. The living summon the souls of the dead, and there are actually on Earth. In the universe for so many years, Xia has experienced a lot, and has heard the legend of summoning ghosts, but has never seen it. This was the first time that he stood above the sky and quietly watched below. At this moment, the old witch was kneeling by the clear river. The river meanders into the distance. It is very long and long, as if it has no end. Under the reflection of the setting sun, it looks like a real yellow spring road. Alasa Hamagaha. As the old witch chanted, the crystal ball suspended in front of her exuded colorful light. Gradually, a strange wave began to spread, and the space seemed to have entered another dimension, with layers of ripples swaying. At this moment, Xia's eyes narrowed in the air, carefully sensing such fluctuations. Is this another dimension? Curiosity appeared in his eyes, and Xia even looked down with all her energy. He clearly saw the clear river, as if another magical world appeared, and then slowly overlapped with this world. An erratic figure appeared on the river, floating lightly towards the front. This figure is cloud-like and does not look like a real person. As it floats forward, when stepping out of the overlapping world and coming to this world completely, the cloud and mist dissipate, revealing a beautiful figure. Xia was stunned, and unexpectedly discovered that the soul was actually a woman. The woman is wearing a blue and white dress with various flowers embroidered on the skirt. It seems that at the moment of appearance, all the flowers are swaying with the breeze blowing, exuding a refreshing fragrance. Zuoli, I finally see you again. Next to the old witch, the planetary man with the crown on his head shouted happily. He was all excited. If it wasn't for the old witch, he would have rushed up. Your Majesty. The female soul named Jolie was stunned for a moment, noticed the surrounding scene, and found that she had come to reality from the underworld, and couldn't help but be surprised. Am I not already dead? It's me. I asked Queen Wu to call you here. I miss you so much, Jolie, I miss you so much. The king with the crown was crying, with an expression of deep affection and unswerving death. So it was you who summoned my soul to come here. Jolie reacted, and then his face turned cold. Your Majesty, I was threatened by you before I was alive, marrying you, you tossed me all day, and after I died, you still asked this old witch to summon me, and also showed me your disgusting face. I am really unlucky. Will you let me go quickly? I don't love you at all, I am self-destructive, I really don't want to be with you, I can't stand such a forced life. Old witch, you take me back, I don't want to see him again. Xia looked down here from the sky, and when she saw this dramatic scene, she was a little stunned. The king with the crown looked very affectionate, and even summoned the other party to come back after his wife died, but what he didn't expect was that the other party didn't like him at all. It was a good show. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and Shia let his body fall directly. What he is more interested in is not the emotional drama between the two, but the different time and space leading to the underworld. It seems that these two worlds have completed the overlap at this moment, and the soul can pass through, so can the body also pass. Shaya was curious in her heart, and as her body fell, it brought a gust of wind. More air pressure pressed down directly towards the ground, creating a huge whistling sound. Several people on the ground, including the soul, looked up at the sky in surprise, and then saw a shadow on his face, which fell heavily in front of them, causing a strong wind. It blows them so they can't open their eyes. What is this? After the strong wind dissipated, they saw Shaya's figure just now. With his feet an inch off the ground, a deep pit appeared on the ground, but it was not large. A young man in black clothes had a handsome appearance and a cold expression. "You, who are you?" The old witch was shocked. When she was summoned, someone dared to make such a mess. Dare to disturb the resting place of the soul, are you not afraid of the gods punishing you? God. A smile appeared on the corner of Shaya's mouth, looking very disdainful. He had already crossed the boundaries of mortals and entered that realm, but he never found the place where they lived. Even a mere mortal dared to talk about the gods in front of him. Ignoring the shocked crowd on the side, he stepped towards the clear river, the two overlapping time and space. Layers of space began to sway, and fine lightning appeared in the air, flickering violently. Don't mess around, the power of space, the power of dimension will tear you to pieces. The old witch said in horror. Crackling. As soon as she finished speaking, a series of lightning space powers slashed at Shaya's body, but after a breath, Shaya's body, not even her robe, was damaged. It's like tickling, it's really a weak force of time and space. Afterwards, he stood in front of the overlapping space, but found that he couldn't step forward, as if there was a gap that could not be bridged. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Thinking of the blueprints Boomer gave him, Char began to close his eyes and think. In an instant, along with what he had just seen in the mysterious space-time structure diagram, a spark of wisdom appeared in his mind, and many incomprehensible knowledge and scenes suddenly came through. After that, Shaya slowly opened his eyes with a smile in his eyes. I understand, the so-called dimension can be crossed so easily. He stretched out his hands, one left and one right, grabbing sharply. Buzz. The space in front of him seemed to be grabbed by something, and then, he shouted loudly, and the power of crackling, thunder and lightning continued to appear, smashing on him, and the chaotic time and space began to boil. The old witch on the side had already screamed, which was completely frightened. She has never seen a human being able to tear apart the boundaries of the realm of man and God with his own strength without the consent of the gods. Ha! With another loud shout, the dimensional space in front seemed to suddenly open up, and there were actually golden clouds. It's here. Shaya laughed and stepped in. Jolie, who was behind him, looked at this scene in shock, rolled his eyes, and hurriedly followed Shaya. Chapter 765 The Work of the Realm King God. Time, in Yangqing's eyes, can't help but use it, and in a blink of an eye, another 3 months have passed. In the past 3 months, he once again read all the classics, with a happy expression in his eyes, and Yangqing was very satisfied. Slowly closing the book, Yangqing closed his eyes and began to recall. Every time after reading a book, he will take some time, close his eyes, sort out all the knowledge lines in the book in his heart, clear all the clues, and grasp the core of the book. In this way, the knowledge to be learned can be learned as soon as possible. This is a very useful methodology. Yangqing has been doing this for so many years. When he opened his eyes again, Yangqing's eyes became serious and serious. The time seems to be coming. With a flick of his hand towards the front, ripples appeared in the space, and the scene on the earth appeared in his eyes again. The faces of the androids number 17 and 18 were the first to step into the picture. They marched forward ruthlessly, releasing powerful qigong waves toward the surroundings, causing explosions. In the space in front of the android, a golden figure quickly dodged, evading repeated attacks. Trunks. Yang Qing's eyes were fixed on the golden figure, and he recognized that it was the grown-up Trunks. After a long and peaceful life, Trunks' outing this time was finally discovered by number 1718. The time machine has been completely built, and all it needs now is fuel. As for the fuel, he needs to collect it everywhere, and then it can be used after being purified and fused by his mother many times. This time, it is the last purification. As long as this time passes, the time machine can be fully used. Quickly dodging the rushing qigong waves, Trunks looked solemn. It can be seen that the 17th and 18th are not serious, they are just playing with the mentality. After evading many times, Trunks already had a lot of scratches on his body, looking very embarrassed. But his expression seemed calm. He has surpassed Brother Gohan, and has become strong enough, with enough mentality, to deal with such a scene. The avoidance at this time is only for the sake of a better future in the future. Finally, after dodging countless times, Trunks saw an opportunity. His expression suddenly changed, he shouted loudly, and stretched out his hands. Open out towards the front. Magic flash. Suddenly, the eyes of the 17th and 18th became bright, and their eyes were blinded by the dazzling light, and even their 5 senses seemed to be lost for a short time. When the light faded and everything returned to normal, Trunks had already disappeared in front of the 17th and 18th. This kid, the kung fu of escaping is strong. 17 laughed, but did not pursue. After the two glanced at the ruined city again, they flew into the air and headed for the next target. Not all human beings on Earth have become extinct, and there are still some remnants hidden in the corners of cities. These people are their targets for fun. After all, life is too boring, and the 17th and 18th have to find something to do by themselves. Trunks carefully returned to his home all the way, jumped off the floor, went to the basement, and handed over the materials obtained this time to Bulma. Encountered them. Didn't you get hurt? Boomer said worriedly. No, don't worry, Mom. Trunks smiled. That's good. After taking a careful look at Trunks, Bulma breathed a sigh of relief after finding that the other party was indeed not injured. After taking over the fuel materials, Boomer's spirit became uplifted again. I'm going to purify the material, and right away we can go back in time. Trunks nodded heavily. Seeing that his mother was busy, Trunks sat down heavily, heaved a sigh of relief, and then began to deal with the abrasions on his body. The wounds were not serious, but they were constantly painful and had a huge impact on his concentration. At the same time, Yang Qing from the Zhuang Temple also brushed over with one hand, eliminating the scene in front of him. Afterwards, he stepped out of the Tibetan Sutra Pavilion and came to the front of the Realm King God. Lord Kaiwangshan, I'm going out for a while. What? The Realm King asked indifferently, as if he didn't care that Yang Qing violated his previous rules. Cultivation, maybe when I come back again, I will be qualified to become a realm god. Yang Qing said with a smile. Oh, Kaiwangshan put down the tea from his mouth, with an interested smile in his eyes. I really want to know why you are so confident, but I don't think you will tell me. Thank you, Lord Zhuangshan. Yang Qing thanked him, knowing that Zhuangshan agreed. Before going out, the M3R galaxy group in the northern Milky Way, where you need to go there, can be regarded as a test of your ability to work. The realm god said casually again. Yang Qing was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile, and retreated to leave the Zhuang Temple. After leaving the Zhuang Temple, Yang Qing closed his eyes and began to look for the place that Zhuang God said. In just a short 3-breath effort, the galaxy group appeared in Yang Qing's eyes. So it is. In the blink of an eye, Yang Qing's figure distorted and disappeared in place. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. When it reappeared, Yangqing was already in a chaotic meteorite belt. Countless meteorites are floating rapidly along with the gravitational force at the center of the galaxy. This speed is extremely fast. If any meteorite falls on the surface of the planet, it will cause the destruction of the stars. This meteorite belt turned out to be a star system. Does the king god Sama mean to let me restore this place to its original state? Yangqing carefully observed the location here, and observed everything in the range of this star system, including gravity, magnetic fields, etc., and found that it was as he expected. Has the destruction of this small star system already affected the speed of the Milky Way? Although it is very small, in the long run, it will lead to the continuous destruction of the solar system. For living beings, it is really a disaster. Now that he understood the reason, Yangqing naturally began to work. Creating stars and maintaining the stability of the universe was originally the work of Kaiwang God. After so many years of practice and reading numerous classics, Yangqing can be said to know the work of the realm kings well, and is extremely confident. Let's rebuild the stars first. Chapter 766 Creating the Solar System. Compared with the composition of other planets, Yangqing chose to restore the original appearance of this solar system star first. A solar system ecosystem with stars at its center. He has read many books, which all show that only the regions where stars exist can give birth to star systems. The superstar spreads and collapses, forming a star, and then with the star at the center, the planets are brought together by gravity, and after countless years, a complete solar system is finally formed. So, stars are the primary factor. Glancing at the vast starry sky in front of him, Yangqing's naked eyes seemed to be able to see only a 10-mile radius in front of him, but his mind had already shrouded the scenes that were not many light years away. He slowly stretched out his hands, and then, a dazzling golden light erupted from his body, spreading rapidly in all directions. The speed of this diffusion is extremely fast, which has surpassed the speed of any object moving, as if entering another dimension, which is truly 1,000 miles in a flash. In the blink of an eye, the overwhelming golden aura enveloped the solar system in front of him. Cohesion. With a cold drink, the nameless liquids, bodies, gases, and solids in the positive solar system were shocked, and then quickly rotated. From a distance, the huge area in front of you looks like a general map of a small galaxy vortex. It's just that the three kinds of physical substances rotate at an extreme speed, and they are also wrapped in a layer of golden aura. This golden aura is vast and majestic, with unfathomable mysterious power, catalyzing and accelerating their movement. Boom! All matter rotates and rotates to the limit speed. Gradually, under the traction of a certain point in the center, the vortex began to condense. In fact, this is a three-dimensional vortex, with material up and down, left and right, in any direction, not flat. In an instant, driven by the golden energy, everything was condensing towards the center. At a certain point in time, as if there was a big explosion, with a loud bang, all the substances came together fiercely, and then one after another, like a shocking performance, starting from the explosion of fireworks, layers of substances attached to the center point in turn. After 3 breaths, this point has become as big as a football field, and it looks like a ball from a distance. Yangqing stood in the void, his expression was calm, the lines in his eyes were circles, and he saw all the details in his eyes, which was the eye of reincarnation representing reincarnation. In his hands, a steady stream of golden energy was released. At this moment, he is like a god who can bring innovation to the world. Buzzing. Starting with the formation of the central sphere, the entire solar system is no longer peaceful, and countless substances and planetary debris begin to vibrate and converge towards the center. In this huge amount of matter, Yangqing distinguished at a very fast speed, and then sorted it out. The central sphere is getting bigger and bigger, and gradually, it has become the size of the moon, and then blinks, it becomes like the Earth, and in an instant, it completes the transcendence of the size of the Earth. The central sphere is growing and expanding at an extremely fast speed, and it is getting bigger and more spectacular. From a distance, it is still black, far from the redness of the burning stars, nor does it release any light and heat. It was not until after the 16th breath that an incomparably huge planet appeared in front of Yang Qing, and the golden aura in Yang Qing's hand was released slowly. Enough. Withdrawing his hands, Yang Qing nodded, looking very satisfied. Then, after he pondered for a while, a hot golden flame appeared from his hand again. In the name of the gods, ignite. Woo! After Yang Qing shouted loudly, the golden flame began to float out of his hands. It seemed to be very slow, but it was actually very fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already landed on this black star. In an instant, Yang Qing's eyes suddenly changed. As if something amazing was ignited in an instant, only a huge, chi-chi, sound was heard, and then a bang, a little red light appeared in the huge black star in front of him, and then, the overwhelming red light, in the blink of an eye centered on its luminous light, it spreads in all directions, flying away, rumbling, as if countless bombs were detonated in an instant. The huge star lit up, and he released an unparalleled light. Along with this red light, terrifying light and heat were also released at the same time, quickly shrouding the nearby star field. As if igniting the fire of hope in a star field, Yang Qing clearly saw that the star field lit up. When the star was completely ignited, the star field also came alive. The realm god didn't teach him how to create a star field, he just let him watch how to create a star. The scene in front of him at this time was entirely the result of his own reading of books. Therefore, Yang Qing himself is very satisfied with the retreat reading during this period of time. Then, he stretched out and shot again. The golden energy aura, this time exudes even more majestic. With the first experience, compared with the stars, it is necessary to calculate the proportion and classification of their respective substances, and the creation of planets is not too simple. Boom 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 boom. A succession of 8 loud bangs, centered on the star, and in its distance, 8 central spheres appear almost simultaneously. Then, under the coverage of golden energy, countless stellar bodies quickly gathered away, and in the blink of an eye, the 8 celestial bodies were rapidly growing in size. They became larger and extremely layered, with the core at the center, and then the high-temperature magma underground, which was extremely fast. In just 10 breaths, the 8 stars are almost. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. It is completed to the surface of the planet at the same time. Moreover, the distances of these stars from the stars are different, large or small, and they appear to have distinct layers. At the moment of formation, the 8 major stars, including the stars, all made a roar at the same time. Then, under the action of some kind of unique gravitational force, it began to rotate slowly. Dense golden lightning suddenly appeared at this time, revolving around this solar system. At this time, Yang Qing closed his eyes, and he was checking whether there were any other omissions in this star. After 15 breaths, Yang Qing opened his eyes and showed a satisfied smile. The solar system is moving slowly, and everything seems to be in harmony. Chapter 767 Mission, done. This should be the first time that the god of the realm has issued a task, and it is not difficult for Yang Qing to complete it. The functions of the gods are not the same as the combat power. Combat requires outstanding talents, powerful energy, and incomparably rich combat experience. However, the functions of gods are inherently given to them by the universe. Even some acquired skills, as long as you are in their position, you can still easily learn them. As long as you use divinity or divine power, you can complete them. Otherwise, let Yang Qing rely on his own energy to assemble a large star field. Stupid dream, if mortals can do this, then what do gods need to do? Such is the power created by Kaiwang God, the god of destruction also has the power to destroy. In Dragon Ball Super, Beerus directly destroyed Zamasu with one blow, without even taking a shot, which perfectly explained this point. At this moment, Yang Qing is in a priesthood and has become a reserve realm god. He has divine power in his body, and he has learned a lot of secret skills related to gods. Coupled with the huge fighting power in his body and the perfect bloodline talent, it can be said that at this moment, he is simply the most powerful god in the universe. Of course, this is a situation where the god of destruction is sent out. After observing the star field he created with his own hands again, Yang Qing made sure that there would be no problems, so he got up and left. After a twist in front of him, Yang Qing opened his eyes again, and it was already another scene. Collapsing high-rise buildings everywhere, ruined cities everywhere. Flying flies buzzed around the most disgusting and ugliest places in the city, and there was no living person in sight. In the huge city, it seems extremely quiet. Standing quietly in the same place, Yang Qing seemed a little silent. Is this the destroyed world? Muttering these words, at this moment, Yang Qing suddenly did not know whether what he had done before was correct. He is a god, and it is impossible to intervene knowingly that he will change the future, and it is even more impossible to destroy the plot that should have appeared. Consequences affecting space and time. His eyes narrowed, and he suddenly thought of the metaphor of going to the future with the realm king god. Time and space are made up of countless foundations, and touching or changing any one of them will cause the entire building to collapse. For example, the space-time that is originally a cube, if a small cornerstone is touched, then it may distort, or even explode, destroying in nothingness. The vast universe contains the most complex and precise calculations, and it is also the most fragile. After Yang Qing was silent, he calmed down. No matter what you did right or wrong, the result is already like this, let's move on. He walked slowly towards where Trunks and Boomer were. Because Yang Qing has already calculated all the time and knows that Trunks has not left here at this time, he is not in a hurry. It didn't fly into the sky and didn't use teleportation. He just walked slowly on the earth. Unlike Zhuang Shengxing, there is no heavy gravity on the earth, making him feel that every step is extremely easy to walk. Walking step by step, Yang Qing's footsteps echoed very clearly in this deserted city. The basement where Trunks lived was not far from here, only 2 blocks away. Yang Qing walked step by step, and still had free time to continue to observe the surrounding scenes. Vaguely, the shadows before the destruction can still be seen here, and many billboards with colorful fonts on them have not dissipated with the passage of time. Suddenly, just as he walked to the last street, Yang Qing's eyes flashed slightly. In the sky, 2 streamers descended rapidly. Artificial man. A little stunned, Yang Qing knew in his heart that it was the 2 figures in the sky that caused the earth to look like this. But he had never seen the 2 of them, and he had only observed them on Zhuang Shengxing across time and space. At this moment, he raised his eyes, and the appearance of the 17th and 18th people came into his eyes. With indifferent eyes and a cruel smile on the corners of their mouths all the time, both of them have the evil aura of the gods, natural plan. This is the result of the endless entanglement of the dead souls of human beings after killing and slaughtering countless people, and it also proves that these 2 people are indeed extremely evil executioners. Frowning his brows, Yang Qing ignored them. However, he didn't notice that in the ruined city of Nuoda, it was strange enough that he was the only one who appeared here in neat clothes. And seeing number 17 or 8 is not afraid, but it already seems very strange and conspicuous. Brother, there is still a human being there. He is so daring to walk around here. There was a strange look in number 18's eyes, which meant that she was interested in Yang Qing. Usually, the result of her interest is the death of the other party. Being played alive to death is also her fun. It's interesting, under such circumstances, how dare a human being so boldly appear on the street and see us and not run away. 17th also smiled. Then, the 2 changed directions and fell directly in the direction of Yang Qing. Come for me. Yang Qing's brows were even tighter, as if he was very annoyed. In the blink of an eye, 2 people appeared in front of him. Human, you are very courageous, you dare to appear here in a grand manner. 18 joked. There are not many human beings on the earth, and the 17th or 18th day is actually very boring, and they feel very interesting when they meet Yang Qing here. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. So, they decided to give this human more time and let them play for a while. Why can't I be here? Yang Qing frowned tightly, staring at the two people in front of him calmly. You don't know us. 17th was stunned. Number 17, number 18, what's wrong? Yang Qing remained calm. Since you know each other, kneel down and climb to my feet, kiss my feet 10 times, I will let you go today. Number 18's little foot shook, and the shoe fell off, revealing a smooth soft little foot. This is a beautiful scene, but the face of number 18 is full of disdain and contempt. Such an expression, as if looking at a beast. I don't want to kill you yet, so it's better to leave quickly. However, in the face of such provocation, Yang Qing's expression remained calm. This time, the calm is a little scary. He no longer paid attention to the two of them, walked over step by step, and passed them by after 5 breaths. Chapter 768 You are green. During this process, number 17 and 18 maintained the expression of the previous moment, without the slightest change or obstruction. The two androids seemed to be immobilized, standing there blankly without any interference. After 10 breaths, Yang Qing's figure disappeared at the end of the street corner. At this time, the expression on the 17th-18th began to change. Their expressions were very uniform and very similar, they all showed fear and took a deep breath. It was as if in the 10 breaths just now, they didn't take a breath of air, their faces became extremely pale, and their whole bodies were shaking unconsciously. Who is he? The last time they met a man named Shaya who claimed to be the ancestor of mankind, but this time the young figure made them tremble even more. Because they have never seen someone who can't even move a hand without moving one hand. Such a strange power is not something that humans can possess at all, just as they are too different from each other's dimensional level and are directly suppressed by a strong force. In that short moment, they felt that the other party's figure was extremely huge and powerful, as if they could be destroyed with a snap of their fingers. What the hell is going on? Recently, there are so many inexplicable people on the earth. Just as Shaya has powerful power but doesn't kill them, this human being is also indifferent to them, provocative like number 18, but he doesn't kill them either. Such a strange scene caused a chill in number 17's heart, as if unconsciously, behind him and number 18, a net that they could not see had been woven. Go, get out of here. Number 17 gave a cold drink, suppressing the fear in his heart, and said to number 18, who could only nod his head. The two got up instantly, flew into the distance, and left here in the blink of an eye. Do you think that person looks a lot like Shaya? On the way, number 18 suddenly thought of something, opened his mouth and said. Number 17 was stunned for a moment, then reacted with shock in his eyes. When you said that, I found it too. After a pause, number 17 took another deep breath. However, my opinion is exactly the opposite of yours, he is not like Shah. Instead, Char, like him. At the same moment, the 4 pairs of eyes faced each other, all showing shocked eyes. On the ruined street, Yang Qing walked slowly. Not far ahead, the letters of the universal capsule could be vaguely seen, indicating that this place was only 1 step away from Trunk's house. Eyes slightly raised towards the sky, Yang Qing did not show any expression. Without taking any action, with the suppression of divine coercion, it was normal to let number 17 and 18 leave. After becoming a god for so long, if you can't even master this skill, Yang Qing will be considered a waste of life. A minute later, Yang Qing opened the mechanism on the ground, saw the floor move, revealing a step leading to the ground, and nodded. From here, you can see Trunks and Boomer. He walked up and down slowly, until his head disappeared and the floor moved again, covering it. In the basement, the lights were not very bright, and Boomer was preparing something for Trunks to travel. Your sword. Coat. Food. I don't know what's going on over there, so the food has to be prepared. Boomer handed things to Trunks one by one, his voice full of concern. Mom, are you really not going with me? Trunks said worriedly. No, Mom is here waiting for you to come back. Don't worry, on the 17th and 18th, you won't find this place so quickly. Besides, as long as you change everything in the past, we can meet again, can't we? At that time, when you come back, you can see a completely different scene, which is a good thing. Boomer said with a smile on his face. Trunks shook his head as he sorted his things. Let's go to safety together, Mom, I'm too worried to leave you here alone. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Boomer refused outright, then remembered what it was like, and searched in the cabinet for a long time before he found it and threw the thing to Trunks. Don't forget your Uncle Wukong's medicine for heart disease. Trunks caught it, put it in his arms solemnly, and nodded, I see. At this time, he did not continue to dissuade his mother, knowing that the latter made a decision, which is absolutely impossible to change. Well, everything is ready, as long as you go back in time, you can change everything, I'll wait for you to come back, Trunks. Boomer took a breath and said with a smile. Trunks nodded heavily and affirmed, I will definitely change everything. The two smiled at each other, then hugged each other heavily. Mom, take care. Trunks, come on. After saying a word to each other again, the two let go. Let's go, Trunks, hurry up. Trunks checked the things on his body again, especially after Sun Wukong's heart disease medicine, and jumped into the time machine. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. At this moment, a figure slowly walked into the basement. Looks like I came at just the right time. The clear and smiling voice instantly spread into the basement, causing both Boomer and Trunks who were standing, their eyes narrowed, and they quickly turned their eyes away. Seeing this, Boomer covered his mouth in shock, while Trunks screamed out in surprise after being stunned. Char! Yang Qing's eyes flashed, the smile on his face did not diminish, but there was a hint of sharpness in his eyes. Char, where is he? Have you seen him, Trunks? Trunks jumped off the time machine and came to Yang Qing, slightly startled. Aren't you Sha? You look like him, who are you? He could see from the vicissitudes in Yang Qing's eyes that the person in front of him was not Sha Ya, who looked 4 or 5 years younger than Yang Qingnian. Are you Qing? At this time, Bulma covered her mouth and said in surprise. It's me, Boomer, long time no see. Yang Qing nodded, the smile on his face was very warm. Qing, he is Qing. Trunks opened his mouth wide in shock, feeling extremely unbelievable. He heard his mother mention this person, the #1 powerhouse in the universe, who was incredibly powerful, but disappeared a long time ago. But at this time, it appeared here. Chapter 769 _ Yang Qing's face resembled that of Sha Ya, which made Trunks admit his mistake for the first time. After a closer look, he found the difference between the two, but at this time he was even more surprised. For Trunks, Ao has always been a figure of legend. A person who lived in the same age as his mother, at this time, at least 40 or 50 years old, right? But after seeing it with his own eyes, he is still so young. Buma on the side is in deep shock. She is someone who has seen Qing with her own eyes. What Qing was like in the past is still the same now. Apart from the vicissitudes and maturity between her eyebrows, her appearance is almost the same as before. Any changes? Qing, you have hardly changed. Boomer sighed. Xiaohua is fleeting, and beauty is easy to grow old, but the time of the years has not left any mark on the face of the person in front of him. Something happened. Yang Qing chuckled, without explaining in detail. Afterwards, he remembered what Trunks had mistaken for him before, and said with a slightly solemn expression, have you seen Xia? He lived with us for a while, but has left, replied Boomer. Trunks carefully observed Yang Qing from the side. From the outside, he could hardly see any aura of the person in front of him. He was like the most common mortal on earth, and he couldn't feel any power at all. Really? Yang Qing nodded and slowly closed his eyes. The divine power spread out suddenly, and spread out over the entire earth in an instant. After not discovering Sha Ya's breath, it spread out farther into the universe. Gradually, the solar system, the Milky Way, were enveloped by him. However, nothing has been found yet. After frowning slightly, Yang Qing had to give up. Like him, Shaya is also a very talented person, and his strength at this time is absolutely unusual. Just as it is difficult for the other party to detect his own breath, it is also difficult for him to find the whereabouts of the other party. Why are you here? Bulma wondered again. And, on Earth, 17th and 18th, have you met them? I saw it just now, and I have already retreated. Yang Qing nodded. Their strength is not worth mentioning. I am here for Trunks. Go back. Hearing these 3 words, Bulma and Trunks were stunned for a moment, but then they reacted and said in amazement. You mean you can beat them? Yeah, Yang Qing nodded. It was more than a victory. If he wanted to, he could easily kill it in seconds. Then, Qing, kill them and avenge the Earth. Boomer was excited. Yang Qing was startled, then shook his head and said, the protagonist of the Earth is not me, so this kind of thing should not be handled by me. Then, he turned slowly to look at Trunks. The Earth was saved by Trunks. You don't need to worry, Trunks will surely succeed. That's why I came to you this time. Huh? Boomer looked at Yang Qing in surprise, with some surprise in his eyes. You know what Trunks is going to do. Go back in time. Yang Qing nodded, then said, I'll go with you, Trunks. What? This time, the two were shocked again. After disappearing for an unknown number of years, Yang Qing, who suddenly came, actually wants to go back to the past with Trunks. Trunks didn't know what to say for a while, so he could only look at Boomer. You also want to go back to the past? Bulma asked suspiciously. Yes, some things, in those past times, were more exciting than they are now, and that's what I've been looking forward to. Yang Qing smiled and nodded. How about it, Boomer, leave it to me, as for the reward. Frowning for a while, Yang Qing laughed again. In return, I will protect Trunks' safety, so that he will not encounter any life and death crisis in the future. How about that? Bulma was deeply aware of Yang Qing's strength. Hearing Yang Qing say this, he just thought about it for a moment and then agreed directly. She always cared about Trunks the most. Going back to the past, there is an unknown danger. If there is a big bodyguard like Qing, it is also a good thing. Trunks, this time, you can go with Uncle Qing, you must succeed. Boomer finally asked Trunks, who nodded obediently. After explaining what had been explained before, Yang Qing and Trunks sat on the time machine. Looking at the dense operation panel in front of him, Yang Qing shook his head. He really didn't know how to operate this thing. Even if he was given a time machine, he probably wouldn't be able to use it. On the contrary, Trunks quickly put his hands on those buttons, pressing them down one by one, very fluent and smooth, with almost no sense of stagnation. Buzzing. The roar sounded, the time machine began to vibrate, and Yang Qing could feel that the surrounding time and space were already distorted. I can't help but feel amazing. If the gods want to travel through time and space, it is also a rare thing. At present, he also knows that only the World King can do it, and no other gods can go to the future time and space. But Boomer did it. It's incredible. I really don't know how this woman's brain looks. Above the basement, the ceiling suddenly hits. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. When they opened, the two saw Boomer sitting on the console and waving at them. Mom, I'll be back. Trunks exclaimed excitedly. Come on. Boomer responded loudly. The time machine roared and began to lift off slowly towards the sky. Yang Qing noticed that the time and space were very distorted at this time, and the surrounding things were already blurred. At the same time, in the underworld, Shia stood on top of a huge underworld building, frowning and looking down. This is where the souls of the dead go. So, I'm wrong, isn't this place where the gods live? He thought that he had crossed the boundary of human and god and came to the place where the real gods should live, but when he came to the underworld, he found that he was wrong. This golden sky, although it looks bright, has a hint of gloom. Moreover, the countless souls below all indicate that this is the place where the dead came. In human common sense, hell and heaven are different places. Clearly, he came to the wrong place. No fun. On the side of Shaya, closely followed by a cloud of white mist, a woman's face was faintly revealed. I'm going out. Chapter 770 Here comes. Shaya looked down, her eyes flickered, and she whispered in her mouth. This was not the place he was looking for, nor the place he was supposed to be. In his imagination, people like him should live in the same environment as the gods, not in this gloomy hell. Please take me with you. In the white fog on the side, a crisp female voice came out. You belong here, mere soul, how do you survive in this world? Shaya said coldly. This woman shrouded in white mist was exactly the Jolie I saw that day. She entered here with Shaya that day, but she did not line up in an orderly manner like other souls, and then waited for Yama's arrangement to reincarnate, but followed Shaya's side closely, not leaving one step. But, Jolie hesitated a little, with a little shyness in his voice. But what? Shaya was expressionless. But, I like adults. I like the feeling of being next to adults. Don't drive me away. Jolie gathered up his courage and his voice became louder and louder. The white fog that was originally stable is now churning. Like me. Shaya was startled. Since he was born, no one has ever said that he likes him. Even his father, who created him, wanted to destroy himself with his own hands. Except for Trunks and Bulma, who had lived together a while ago, everyone only had fear and hatred for their own feelings. He has seen too many hateful eyes, the look of wanting to devour himself alive, he has become accustomed to it. But what does it feel like to be liked? At this moment, Shaya's heart suddenly trembled inexplicably. This was a brand new feeling that he had never experienced before. What is liking? Sha suddenly asked again. Jolie was stunned for a moment, then whispered, I like it, I like the appearance of adults, I like to be around adults, what adults do, what I do, and live with adults. Is that just the way it is? Sha said calmly. Jolie gritted his teeth and said firmly, if you live, I will live, if you die, I will die. Hearing the woman's firm voice, Shaya was stunned and her heart trembled inexplicably. After a long time, he just made a sound. My name is Sha, not an adult. After Jolie was stunned, he reacted, showing a surprised expression, and made a big, Shaya still had that expressionless face, as if nothing could make his heart ripple. He glanced down again lightly, and said, Go out. Then, he stretched out and out of his hands, slammed, and then pulled hard. Call. The diaphragm of the dimensional space was directly torn apart by him, and a suction force came out, forming a strong wind here. Shaya stepped in, and Bai Wu Jolie behind him followed closely. Time and space were twisted, and just a moment later, Shaya and Jolie with a halo on his head came to the universe. In the starry sky, neither of them felt any discomfort. Shaya's body was genetically complex and could adapt to a variety of environments that were difficult for other races to survive in. Jolie was dead and naturally did not need to breathe. My lord, is this the universe? It's so beautiful. In front of him, the huge galaxy is slowly rotating, and the bright rays of light are radiating in all directions, forming a magnificent and perfect starry sky map. Jolie had never seen such a scene on the planet, and involuntarily became addicted to it. Shaya didn't respond, just nodded lightly. But just after a breath, his expression changed suddenly, and his whole body trembled. This is his breath. You can't go wrong. At this moment, as if a flash of lightning lit up in his mind, he actually sensed that person's breath. Immediately, Shaya closed his eyes and began to follow the lightning that came from the endless and distant void to pursue the person's breath. On Earth. After 2 breaths, Shaya's eyes narrowed, and his expression became extremely sharp. Sir. On the side, Jolie, who had never seen Shaya's expression, let out a worried cry. Come with you too. Sha pulled Jolie in one hand, and the two instantly disappeared into the universe. Just when Xiaya discovered Yang Qing's breath, Yang Qing, who was sitting in the time machine with Trunks about to leave here, was shocked and her eyes became cold. Trunks, who was beside him, was waving at Boomer and didn't notice this scene. Char. Yang Qing said coldly. He did not expect that at the last moment of leaving here, he could sense the breath of that person. In an instant, Xiaya's breath suddenly disappeared, and Yang Qing's expression became extremely sharp. He knew that the man was here. Sure enough, just after the next breath, two figures appeared in the void 100 meters in front of the time machine. At the same time, two pairs of eyes collided fiercely. Char. At this moment, Yang Qing really saw Xiaya's figure. It is not that the breath is sensed from the void, but that they truly see each other. Father. Xiaya's eyes also became extremely cold. The eyes of the two met, they both saw each other. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Changes after an unknown amount of time. So strong. Yang Qing's heart sank, and he clearly sensed the power of the other party's body at this time, which was no less than his own, and what surprised him even more was that the other party's body had an aura that he was extremely familiar with. He clearly knew that this breath was the breath of the gods. In other words, Xiaya in front of him has become a god without knowing when. Compared to the last time, Xiaya at this time is very different. He no longer has that invincible sense of power in his body, as if he can destroy everything in the world and kill all the enemies as cruel and ruthless. Instead, he hides these dark and evil thoughts in his body. The depths of. He seems to have returned to his original state, and has undergone great changes. At first glance, Xiaya is no different from a normal person at this moment. The only thing that stands out is that he is colder. This guy has hidden all cruelty. The sharp-edged Xiaya is not terrible, but at this time, the guy who hides the blade in the sheath is the real terror. Because everyone knows that once he draws his sword, that kind of unparalleled sword light will sever everything in front of him and destroy everything in the world. In Xiaya's eyes, the person he pursued in his life and hoped to defeat. Likewise, the powerful shocked him. Chapter 771 Yang Qing, who was sitting in the time machine, was dressed in a real-world god costume and had a faint smile on his face. The moment he saw him, he seemed a little stunned, but then he stared at him. Others couldn't feel it, they only felt that he was an ordinary person, but Xiaya was different. Under the traction of qi, he could feel the explosive power contained in that person, deep in his body. That kind of power, strong and restrained, just felt a little, and it made the cells in his whole body tremble, and he couldn't help himself with excitement. It was so powerful that it made him burst out with a desire to fight that he hadn't had in many years. What shocked Xia even more was that he discovered the same divine aura on the other side. As expected of my father, I am so surprised. Across the void, Xiaya laughed, and an astonishing breath burst out from her whole body. This momentum didn't seem to have any destructive power, but in an instant, the countless ruins below shook once again, turning into sand grains and falling down. You surprise me too, how fast the progress is. Yang Qing said coldly. I've been looking for you for a long time, but you seem to have disappeared. Today, I finally caught you. Let's play it out, the time has come to wash away the shame of my defeat. The light in Xiaya's eyes is extremely bright, and his voice is even more imposing. With a rush on his body, his hair suddenly turns golden, and the roots stand upright. It is really the first stage of Super Saiyan. The terrifying momentum centered on him, swept in all directions, the time machine seemed to be a little unstable, and the buzzing intensified. Boma below looked at Xiaya in the sky, with worry in his eyes. At this time, it was the time when the time machine left, and if something happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. Sitting on the time machine, Trunks was stunned to see Char's sudden burst of aura. Super Saiyan, such a strong Super Saiyan. Char's Super Tournament 1 is simply stronger than Trunks. This is because the two people's original accumulation is different, and at the same time, the level of understanding of power is also completely different. Shaya, so powerful. Thinking of Char, who used to be smiling and joking with him, and looking at the opposite side now, Trunks couldn't believe it. Boom boom boom. The time machine made a huge roar, and it flew faster and faster towards the sky. Yang Qing was keenly aware that the time around the time machine had begun to distort. Squinting and staring at Shaya again, he knew in his heart that this battle was impossible to continue. The time machine has initially entered the time-space tunnel, and it is impossible to exit. Wait when I get back, and I'll clean you up. The killing intent in his eyes suddenly subsided, and Yang Qing's expression became calm again. Don't run. Sha shouted loudly and chased after the time machine. But at the next moment, the whirlpool turned, and the time machine suddenly disappeared in front of his eyes. At the same time, Yang Qing's breath was completely undetectable. Shaya's body stagnated suddenly, and there was a trace of doubt in his eyes. Then, when he thought of Trunks just now, and Buma below, he clenched his fists. Huh! His body appeared in front of Boomer, with a cold expression on his face. Time machine, you've made it. Where did they go? In the past, I don't know the exact time, it was controlled by Trunks. Boma didn't hesitate and replied immediately. Shaya's eyes narrowed and he stared at Boma. He knew that the other party didn't lie. But the fighting desire and hope in his heart just woke up and boiled, and it is difficult to calm down at this moment, which makes him have an urge to destroy everything. Can you make another one? He asked again. You have the blueprint. You know more about the contingency and difficulty of making a time machine than I do. Boomer squinted and said softly. Shia stopped talking, and he did not embarrass Buma. His purpose was only Yang Qing, the man he could never forget in his life. In his eyes, other people were like a fleeting moment, leaving no impression at all. Time and space. After muttering, his understanding of time and space has actually been studied through the blueprint. If he continues to study it, it is possible to succeed. Sir. At this moment, Jolie came to his side. Bulma glanced curiously at Jolie with a halo on his head, but said nothing. Sir, do you want to go back to the past? Jolie heard the conversation between the two very clearly. Yes, Shaya said. If it is a god, it should be able to do it, right? Jolie hesitated. God. Shaya was startled, and then a smile appeared on his face. He glanced back at Boomer again, and the smile on his face faded. If you don't tell me, I also know that they must have returned to the time and space before the Earth was destroyed. Just find the two androids and ask them again, and they will naturally know. The appearance of the Earth, what Trunks has always dreamed of, is very clear to Char. The next moment This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. The figure and Jolie disappeared in front of Boomer. On the 17th and 18th, when I saw this terrifying man in front of me again, I was so scared that the bananas in my hands almost fell. Tell me when you appeared on Earth. Facing the two people who were too frightened to move, Shaya's face was cold and his voice was flat. On the 17th and 18th, naturally, he did not dare to resist, and responded immediately. The wicked have their own grind. In the face of the wicked's ancestors, these two androids really didn't dare to hide anything in front of Shaya. After getting the exact time of the appearance of the 17th and 18th, there was a slight smile on Shaya's face. God, travel through time and space. He doesn't know how to travel through time and space, but someone will always know. After traveling in the universe for many years, Char has also heard many legends in the universe. Among them, there is one person he knows. According to legend, although that person has no power, he is very clear about everything in the universe. A god who travels through time and space, as long as he finds that person, he can find it. At that time, with his power, what information can't be obtained? Combined with the theories and drawings he got from Boomer, he couldn't believe that he couldn't create something that could travel through time and space. It's not bad to compete with you in the past time and space. Chapter 772 The King of the Southern Realm. A smile appeared on Sha Ya's face, and at this moment, he suddenly felt very interesting. Isn't the duel across time and space more interesting than this bland battle? It seems that I have to go back to the underworld again. With a twinkle in his eyes, Sha Ya knew that if you want to get the information of those gods, you must start from another dimension. Zuoli, let's go. Greeting softly, the figures of Sha Ya and Zhou disappeared from the earth in an instant. Just like returning to the universe dimension just now, Sha Ya once again tore the barrier between the dimensions and stepped into the underworld one step at a time. But this time, his goal was very clear. Listen to you, the source of these soul lines is a god. Sha asked. Well, all souls call him Yama and manage everything in the underworld. Zhou replied. Sha Ya nodded and looked at the souls lining up in front. As if he could not see the source, in front of him was an endless long snake. As soon as her figure moved, Sha Ya flew up, and Zhou behind her held Sha Ya's robe tightly, and she turned into a white mist again, as light as nothing. Half an hour later, Sha Ya saw an incomparably huge building, and within that building, a majestic, huge god was sitting at the table, examining the souls in front of them one by one. You, before you die, trample 53,000 ants, kill 4,500 flies, and punish you to go to a layer of hell, cleanse your sins, and reincarnate after 3 years. Thank you Lord Yama. A grateful voice came from the soul. The souls at the rear lined up to step forward, and Yama took control of each and every one of them, and the sentence was accurate and powerful, convincing the soul. At this time, Yan Luo's eyes suddenly flashed, and he looked towards the void in front of him. Who are you? What are you doing here? Don't disturb me in managing the reincarnation of life, or you will be punished. In the void, a figure stood there with a flat face, staring at him indifferently. Yama noticed that this man had the aura of a god, so he didn't do it directly. Otherwise, on weekdays, if someone disturbed him in the performance of his official duties, he would definitely be severely punished. I ask you, do you know the gods who can travel through time and space? Sha Ya spoke coldly, causing Yan Luo to be startled. Immediately following, Yan Luo became furious. Where is the little god of hair, dare to disturb me in the execution of official duties? He stood up in anger, and patted the front with his big hand. Compared to Yama's huge stature, Sha Ya was like a mosquito, and the big hand slapped it, setting off a strong wind and screaming. The momentum was amazing. However, after a breath, Sha stretched out a finger. Buzz! The void trembled, a finger easily blocked Yan Luo's big hand, and even the violent impact extended to Yan Luo's whole body, forcing him to take more than 10 steps back, hitting the wall behind him. What a powerful force! Yan Luo was shocked, and a look of awe appeared in his eyes. It seems that you won't say anything without beating you up. There was grimness in Sha Ya's eyes, and his figure just flashed, and he reached the top of Yan Luo's head. Then, he made a fist with his right hand, and it was a fist that fluttered towards Yan Luo's head. Boom! This fist was thrown, but it made an earth-shattering sound, and Yan Luo's huge body seemed to be directly crushed by an incomparably heavy object, and the whole person was printed on the ground with a bang. Crack! In the underworld buildings, cracks appeared on the hard ground, which looked shocking. Yama's head was bleeding into a river, screaming in pain. Now tell me, where is the god who can travel through time and space? Xiao Ya, who was as small as a mosquito, appeared in front of Yan Luo's huge eyes, and an indifferent voice also entered his ears, causing Yan Luo's whole body to tremble immediately. He realized that he was not the opponent of the little man in front of him at all. This guy was too strong. I am afraid that only Lord Realm King can deal with it. Follow the snake path over there, and when you reach the end, you will see a planet. On that planet, Lord Nanji Wang lives. He may know. Yan Luo stretched out his hand without hesitation and shouted loudly. No matter what, your own life is important. King of the Southern Realm. Shaya wondered, he didn't know what position this was. Lord Nanji Wang rules the entire Southern Galaxy and is the supreme deity of the Southern Galaxy. Yama explained. I really don't know that this is the god of Mao who came from here, and he doesn't know anything, but his power is incredible. Finally, he glanced at Yan Luo who was lying on the ground again, causing the latter to tremble. Shaya took Jolie along the snake path pointed by Yan Luo. In just a short while, the two reached the snake road. The long snake road, with almost no end in sight, stands on the golden clouds. My lord, it is said that below this snake path is hell. As long as it falls, it will never come out. Jolie floated beside Shaya, looking at the clouds below in fear. There is no place in this world that can trap me. Shaya said plainly, with endless confidence in her words. Jolie was stunned for a moment, but when he thought of the former's ability to tear apart the dimensional barriers, a smile appeared on his face. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Yes, adults are the most powerful. Walking along the snake path all the way, Shaya found that the snake path was really long and terrifying. He put Jolie on his shoulders and used his full speed, but it took a full day before he reached the end of the snake path. After arriving here, he really saw a small planet in the sky in front of him. This planet is not only small, but small, and everything in it can be seen at a glance. Zhuangxing, this is it. Flying up, in just an instant, Shaya came to this realm king. Who are you? What are you doing here? When he arrived at Zhuangxing, a voice came from the side, and the words were full of endless divine might. Compared to that Yama, the world king who was slightly fat and not tall in front of him, the divine might contained in his body was simply terrifying. Shaya took a rare serious look and said slightly. Are you the realm king? I am the realm king, who are you? Nanjiwang asked in confusion. Do you know the gods who can travel through time and space? Now that the identity of the other party has been determined, Shaya asked directly. Through time and space, the king of the South Realm was startled, attracted by Shaya's single-handed approach, but he forgot to ask Shaya's identity again. How can there be a god who can travel through time and space? Chapter 773 Arrival. The king of the Southern Realm was asked a question by Shaya, and he was a little dazed. He is already the highest deity in the Southern Milky Way, but he really doesn't know anything that can travel through time and space. Time travel, how is that possible? The king of the Southern Realm kept shaking his head, vetoing Shaya's question. This made Char's face more and more ugly. He saw that man and Trunks travel back in time in a time machine with his own eyes. The old guy in front of him actually dared to deny him. You don't know? He asked again. Maybe the great realm king knows, but I don't know. Nanji Wang said. Where is the great realm king? Shaya asked again. Why should I tell you? Only then did the king of the South Realm react and asked angrily, who are you? Facing the Southern Realm king who reacted, Shaya was not polite, raising his hand was a punch. After 3 breaths, the king of the Southern Realm calmed down. 10 minutes later, in Shaya's cold eyes, the two walked towards the planet where the Great Realm King was. 3 hours later, in front of the Great Realm King, the Southern Realm King looked at Shaya in fear. Shaya stood indifferently in front of the Great Realm King, looking at the little old man who liked listening to music in front of him. Do you know who can travel through time? Or something that can travel through time and space? The Great Realm King shook his head, looked at the young man who looked like Blue in front of him, and said with a smile, traveling through time and space. That's rare. If there is, maybe only the realm gods who stand at the lowest and highest end of the gods in the sky. Okay. Jia Wangshen. Shaya frowned. Coming from a low level, the gods he encountered were getting higher and higher. When he arrived at the Great Realm King, the divine power within this little old man was many times higher than his. Although in terms of strength, he was sure that he could instantly kill the opponent, but above his head, there was actually a realm god. Yes, the gods of all our realm kings, the gods of the heavens, the realm gods. The realm king smiled and said, he is a person who lives in legends, and I have never seen him before. Haven't you seen it? Shaya's brows furrowed even deeper, and when they got here, the clues were almost broken. How can he find a person who has never even seen the king himself? And, it's only possible. However, Buma has already succeeded. You still have to rely on that drawing. Shaking his head, Shaya no longer thinks about gods. He originally wanted to directly find a god who can travel through time and space, threaten the other party, and help himself travel directly back to the past to fight against Qing. However, it turns out that this is not a simple matter. As long as I use the space-time theory on that blueprint and my understanding of space-time to create something that travels through time and space, there is still hope. After Shaya took a deep look at the great realm king in front of him again, his figure flashed and disappeared in place. He couldn't tell if the person on the other side was lying, so he could only step back. As Shaya left, it was obvious that the king of the southern realm breathed a long sigh of relief. What a terrifying human being. How strong is he, the great realm king? You are not sure of defeating him, are you? The great realm king shook his head, still with a smile on his face. It's not unsure, it's simply impossible. His strength should already be at the top of the universe, and he also has the aura of a god, and he is no longer human. It's really strange. There are so many living beings in the universe that two people have become gods. The great realm king sighed, thinking of his disciple whom he hadn't seen for a long time. This is also the reason why he is not frightened when he sees Shaya. Even if Shaya is strong, he will definitely not be Qing's opponent in his heart. As for whether Shaya is so talented, whether to consider accepting him as a disciple or not, at first glance, the great realm king saw the darkness and evil in Shaya's heart that was completely impossible to change. Unfortunately, my temperament is too bad, I have gone astray. Shaking his head and sighing, the great realm king returned to the palace and disappeared. As for Shaya's side, he had already torn apart the space barrier and returned to the universe. He randomly selected a high-tech planet and prepared to develop his own travel plan. Of course, crossing is not the purpose, his purpose is to find that person and then defeat him. Strong learning ability and excellent bloodline talent make Shaya almost perfect in all aspects. In addition, he has bloodlines that can integrate various races, and his potential is endless. In the future, he will only become more and more terrifying. Father, wait, I will find you. The drawings of the time machine in his mind kept flashing, and the data streams began to shuttle in his mind quickly. Shaya had already begun to analyze the theory of time and space. Jolie, on the other hand, looked at the person she admired curiously, with a look of obsession. Strong men always attract women's attention. And Sha, in Jolie's eyes, is far from being powerful enough to simply describe. On the other hand, Yang Qing and Trunks swayed as they watched the colorful light passing by. Yang Qing is okay, he was once taken by the realm god, so he is familiar with it. But for the first time, Trunks was nervous at the moment, for fear that something was wrong, and he appeared in a strange place. The time machine has gone through countless data calculations to ensure that it is accurate. And space-time itself, in fact, has. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Regularly, Boomer figured out this law, so he was able to invent the time machine. I don't know how long it took, the front of the two suddenly brightened. A smile appeared on Yang Qing's face. He had experienced it once, so he knew that his destination had arrived. Get ready, Trunks, here we are. Trunks nodded, suddenly a little excited. Uncle Wukong, Brother Gohan, and Dad, Uncle Piccolo, etc., can these people meet again? In addition, as long as you tell them everything, then the future that he and his mother are in can also be changed. It's about to be done. The time machine is flying fast, going upstream along the river of time and space. The closer he got to the exit, Trunks' expression quickly calmed down again, and his powerful mental ability allowed him to control himself. Finally, the time machine rushed out of the tunnel. Arrived. Yang Qing's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his face. He had waited so many years for this moment. Here, Sun Wukong has completed his transformation again and again. The more he grows, the stronger he becomes. Chapter 774. Everyone's shock. It is also here that a thrilling story begins. It is even more here that there are endless powerhouses that make the world more exciting. Getting stronger and stronger, constantly surpassing yourself, and moving towards a higher place. This is also the attraction of the long beads themselves, and only here can all this be reflected. With more and more light, the time machine finally broke out of the tunnel and descended into the past time and space. Uncle Qing, here we are. Trunks seemed a lot calmer at this time, with all the excited smiles on his face. Yang Qing understood Trunks' mood at the moment, so he also smiled. The time machine stayed in the void, and the two looked around through the glass cover, and immediately found that not far from the time machine, a large group of people were looking at them with curious expressions on their faces. Uncle Piccolo, Uncle Krillin, Brother Gohan, and Dad. Trunks was shocked. He hadn't seen these people for many years, and he only kept their faces before they died, which was almost indistinguishable from this moment. It was them, it was them. I really went back in time. Excellent. Secretly, Trunks clenched his fists. Let's go out. They seem to be facing a strong enemy now. Yang Qing smiled and pointed to the slowly falling aircraft above his head. He was very familiar with that spaceship, which was the one Frieza took when he arrived. It seems that the time period they traveled through time and space was not much different from the original book. It was the moment when Frieza came to the Earth to take revenge on the people of the Earth. Trunks responded, jumped out of the time machine, put the time machine into the universal capsule, and then slowly fell to the ground. On the other hand, Vegeta and the others who paid attention to Trunks were also a little nervous. They didn't know where the two came from, but Frieza invaded the Earth and could feel that he must be a super soldier on the Earth. Who are those two guys? Keelan asked Yamcha, who was beside him, suspiciously. The latter shook his head and said he didn't know him. It was for Frieza too, but never saw them. The blue-haired one looks a lot like Vegeta. Vegeta's ears were sharp, and after hearing the voices of the crowd, she cast a glance at the two of them, and her heart was immediately shocked after seeing it. Because he clearly saw the tail coiled around Yang Qing's waist, he felt the extremely familiar aura on Yang Qing's body. It's a Saiyan. In this world, besides me and Kakarot, there are other Saiyans. What Vegeta said in her heart was a pure-blooded Saiyan, not a hybrid of Earthlings or other races like Son Gohan. His own Saiyan bloodline is very pure, so he can also sense that the Saiyan bloodline on Yang Qing is even more terrifying. And the guy next to him, the breath is also very familiar. Who is he? At this moment, the huge aircraft in the sky had descended, and Frieza's figure slowly emerged, and behind him was a stocky man who looked older than him and was his father. This time, the two came together in order to completely destroy the Earthlings in one fell swoop. Uncle Qing, is that Frieza? Trunks hadn't met Frieza, and was more of a supporter of Gohan's brother, as his mother had mentioned. Yes, he is Frieza. At this time, it should be Frieza who came to Earth to take revenge. Yang Qing nodded and smiled. In other words, has Uncle Goku just turned into a Super Saiyan at this time? Trunks' eyes lit up. He didn't make a mistake. It is still 2 years after the appearance of the android, and this time it will be successful. Excellent. Time is no problem, but your father is no match for Frieza at all right now. Yang Qing teased. Trunks was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. Leave it to me. Just looking at the two people who were slowly descending in midair, Trunks knew that he could easily deal with them by himself. Number 17, number 18, maybe I'm not as good as myself, but Frieza, compared to the current self, is still too weak. After a while, Frieza and his son fell completely. Trunks also flew up and flew towards the two of them. The people of Vegeta on Earth were in a state of tension. Earth people, prepare to die. Frieza's eyes were cold and contemptuous. That long-haired guy died in the battle with himself. He could survive in a vacuum with a broken body, but Saiyans don't have such a strong survivability. In his cognition, Sun Wukong is dead. Damn. Vegeta gritted her teeth, gathered her breath, and prepared to go forward to fight. The Earth super soldiers next to her were also nervous. At this moment, the two sides were surprised to find a figure standing in front of Frieza. It was the blue-haired boy, the black-haired man who came with him, who didn't do anything. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. What is this kid going to do? Everyone was surprised and looked at Trunks suspiciously. Are you Frieza? Although he had already asked Uncle Ching just now, Trunks wanted to make sure. I am. Who are you? Because he didn't feel any strong aura from Trunks, Frieza still looked contemptuous. That's right. Trunks nodded, his expression became cold, and his right hand slowly stretched out to the long sword behind him. Vegeta and the others, who were watching from the side, were startled, and they all stared at Trunks dumbfounded. That kid, he actually wanted to single out Frieza. My god, he can't be crazy. Let's hurry up and don't let him get killed by Frieza. Everyone was worried, and the figure accelerated. But just as they moved, Frieza and Trunks also moved. Huh. Almost instantly, Trunks brushed past Frieza. Choke. The sound of the long sword being sheathed sounded, and Frieza's body was frozen in the air, and then it split into countless pieces. With just one move, he was easily killed by Trunks. Immediately afterwards, a Qigong wave appeared in Trunks' hands, and with a roar, Frieza's body completely disappeared from the world. Chapter 775 The Legendary. In the blink of an eye, Trunks eliminated Frieza. This neat and tidy skill made everyone on the side cover their mouths in surprise, completely in disbelief. And Frieza's father, at this moment, was terrified and kept backing away. However, the ruthless Trunks would naturally not give him any chance. With a wave of his long sword, Frieza's father was also destroyed. At this time, Trunks' expression softened, revealing a hint of a smile. Everyone in Vegeta looked at this side in surprise, but for a while they didn't dare to approach at will. Yang Qing slowly fell from the sky, looking at Trunks who easily eliminated Frieza with a smile in his eyes. It has to be said that Trunks has no problems at all with his skills. In that era full of wars all the time, Trunks fought almost all the way to get up. Although he didn't have a good teacher to teach him, he also relied on himself to forcibly walk out a path. In addition, he is the protagonist of the future world, and the power in the later stage will have a big explosion, reaching a terrifying level. They don't know you yet, why don't they come and say hello? Coming to Trunks, Yang Qing said with a light smile. Uncle Wukong is coming soon. Trunks said with a smile. That's true. Yang Qing nodded and stood beside Trunks. So, the scene here has become a strange scene. Vegeta looked at the crowd cautiously and solemnly. Trunks and Yang Qing had relaxed smiles on their faces. While everyone was observing the two, Yang Qing was also observing the people on the opposite side. To his surprise, Vegeta doesn't seem to recognize himself. Could it be that there is no me in the past time and space? Thinking of his strange intrusion method, this conclusion is really possible. Vegeta had seen him before, and he had to teach it himself to become a Super Saiyan. But this Vegeta at the moment, obviously has no progress in strength, and can't transform into a Super Saiyan. The eyes he looked at him were full of strangeness and doubt, and he didn't know himself at all. In other words, is my existence limited to the future time and space? With a thoughtful expression on his face, a smile appeared on Yang Qing's face. I have to say, this is also good news. The time and space of the long beads are almost all interrelated, and almost all of them will have a self in the present, the past, and the future. Whether it exists or is dead, it will have it. Black Wukong, Zamasu, the big boss in the Longzhu Super, this is how it appeared. However, in these countless time and space, there is only one self. This means that no one will use their own identity to manipulate. This saves a lot of trouble, it will not become a target, and you will be more free. Everyone stood there and waited for a while. Suddenly, in the middle of the two sides, a gust of wind blew, and a figure appeared here. Trunks' eyes lit up immediately and looked at the field. Sun Wukong. Yang Qing also showed a smile. That figure is the Monkey King of this time and space. Hi everyone. As soon as Sun Wukong appeared, he laughed loudly, his expression calm, full of optimism. Goku. Kakarot. Sun Wukong. When Vegeta saw the appearance of Sun Wukong, they all breathed a sigh of relief and cried out in surprise. Everyone quickly gathered together. Kaylin and others pinched around Sun Wukong, and they were all happy when they saw that the latter was not injured. I sensed that someone had shot Frieza, so I didn't rush over. Sun Wukong smiled. By the way, who are they? With that said, Sun Wukong looked at Trunks and Yang Qing again. Kakarot, be careful, that blue-haired guy is very powerful, and the other person is a Saiyan. And, according to my judgment, these two guys are probably Saiyans. Vegeta said solemnly. Saiyan. Sun Wukong looked at Yang Qing and Trunks in surprise. Noticing that the other party noticed him, Trunks also nodded to Yang Qing, and then came to the front of the crowd. He looked at Vegeta a few more times before speaking to Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong, can you try your strength? Sun Wukong was obviously taken aback for a moment, then he didn't hesitate, smiled and said, of course. I want you to use all your strength and become a Super Saiyan. Trunks in particular made a point, and everyone was discolored. Sun Wukong did not understand, but still agreed. Immediately afterwards, Sun Wukong and Trunks left the middleman and came to the open space on the side. After taking a deep look at Trunks, Sun Wukong snorted and turned into a Super Saiyan. The golden breath swells, and the powerful force continues to spread around, and the domineering of the Saiyans is evident. Trunks nodded and said with a smile, that's it. Afterwards, his expression became serious, and he suddenly gathered his anger, and with a poof, he transformed into a Super Saiyan. In this scene, seeing Vegeta and others change color on the spot, especially Vegeta, it is even more violent in the heart. Don't be surprised, Trunks was already able to transform into a Super Saiyan when he was 12 or 13 years old. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. Seeing the surprise on everyone's faces, Yang Qing explained with a smile. What? Hearing this sentence, Vegeta felt even more incredible. The legend of the Saiyan family, when did it become so easy to transform? That blue-haired boy was able to transform himself successfully at the age of 12 or 13. What made him even more angry was that he, the purebred Saiyan prince, had not been able to transform successfully until now. Are you also a Saiyan? At this moment, Vegeta suddenly asked Yang Qing, and he paid special attention to Yang Qing's tale. Saiyan. Yang Qing was stunned, then nodded and smiled, if you understand it, I should belong to the legendary Super Saiyan. The legendary Super Saiyan. Vegeta was startled, and everyone else became curious. What does that mean? Piccolo asked curiously. They all listened to Yang Qing's words. The difference between Super Saiyan and the legendary Super Saiyan was obviously different. Super Saiyan, Sun Wukong, the state of Trunks' transformation at this time. Yang Qing did not hide it and explained it. And the legendary Super Saiyan. After a pause, Yang Qing looked at Vegeta. Vegeta, you should be very clear about his characteristics. Chapter 776 Challenge again. On the side, Vegeta was shaken all over, and her eyes were full of intense fear. Involuntarily, he even said the meaning of the legendary Super Saiyan from his mouth. The Saiyan family has always had a distant legend. It is said that every 1,000 years, a Super Saiyan will appear, and when he is born, he will be the most powerful existence among all Saiyans. However, at the same time, he is also extremely ferocious, with the most bloodthirsty and cruel temperament. Hearing Vegeta's words, everyone couldn't help but look at Yang Qing, but seeing the kindness on the other side's face and no murderous look at all, they couldn't help but feel a little strange. I just happened to have some adventures, and I resolved the hostility in my body, hee. Facing the doubts on the faces of everyone, Yang Qing explained with a smile. Everyone did not realize the meaning of the legendary Super Saiyan. Only Vegeta kept looking at Yang Qing with obvious panic and shock in his eyes. On the side, Trunks and Vegeta's auras became serious, attracting everyone's attention. The two started a series of duels. Trunks drew his sword and drew out his sword at an extremely fast speed, but Sun Wukong used his 2 fingers to join the sword, and took it meticulously, showing his powerful strength. After more than 10 breaths, a smile appeared on Trunks' face, and he removed his breath. As expected of Sun Wukong. Wow, you are so powerful! Sun Wukong exclaimed. It was the first time he saw another strong man like him who could transform into a Super Saiyan, and was very surprised. Hearing Sun Wukong complimenting him, Trunks was not happy, but lost. How can I be so powerful? Monkey King, come here, I'll tell you something very important, and this matter must not be heard by others. Trunks remembered his important mission, and his face became heavy. Sun Wukong was pulled away by Trunks with a puzzled look on his face. Afterwards, the two exchanged in a low voice. You can see the constant amazement on Sun Wukong's face. Beside, Vic's face also showed shock. After hearing it, he even involuntarily glanced at Yang Qing who was standing beside them from the corner of his eyes, but what he saw was the deep smile on the latter's face, and he couldn't help but shudder. Until the end, when the two finished speaking, Trunks solemnly handed a box to Sun Wukong. Please keep it well, everything, just ask Mr. Sun Wukong. Good. Sun Wukong readily agreed. Single-celled creatures can always move forward without thinking about anything. After that, Trunks came to Yang Qing's side, looked at Vegeta cautiously, then looked at Boomer shyly, but didn't say much. Are you going back? Yang Qing asked aloud. Well, I'll be back in 2 years, Trunks said. Go, I'll wait for you here. Yang Qing's eyes flashed, and she said with a smile. Aren't Uncle Qing going back with me? Trunks asked suspiciously. No, here, I still have some things to confirm. Yang Qing said with a little deep meaning. Vegeta and the others have no impression of him at all. It can be understood that this time and space has no self, but at the same time, it can also be understood that the self in this time and space has not been in contact with these people. The first thing he was sure about was whether there was himself in this time and space. That is he unique in this world? This matter may seem trivial, but to Yang Qing, it is extremely important. Okay, in 2 years, I'll be back with Uncle Qing. Trunks said loudly. Yang Qing nodded and said nothing. Then, in front of everyone, Trunks opened the universal capsule, became a time machine, and disappeared here in the blink of an eye. Bulma looked at the time machine in the sky curiously, a little strange. How could the sign of her home be engraved on the machine? On this side, Sun Wukong began to tell everyone what Trunks said just now. After a while of gasping and being shocked, the crowd began to chatter. That is to say, in 2 years, there will be 2 powerful androids destroying the world. That Trunks is actually the son of Vegeta and Bulma. Where's Qing? What's Qing's identity? Of course, these words were only known to everyone after Vegeta and Bulma left. Trunks did not speak in front of people, because he was afraid that history would be changed and he would disappear in front of people. After all, the combination of Bulma and Vegeta is too unexpected. Seeing everyone talking about it, Yang Qing folded his arms beside him, smiling, and didn't get involved. Compared with his time and space, the people here are obviously more energetic and lively, and he enjoys it very much. After about an hour, the crowd began to disperse. Qing, sir, I heard that Trunks said that you are very strong. I wonder if I can learn from you. At this time, Sun Wukong was a little excited and found Yang Qing in front of him. Of course, you in the future time and space have also challenged me. Yang Qing nodded with a smile. Ah, really? What about the final result? Monkey King asked stupidly, scratching his head in embarrassment. No more than a finger on me. Yang Qing is still smiling, stretching. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Out his index finger. Although it is not clear that Sun Wukong's strength is weak, but Sun Wukong also understands, can't help but be more embarrassed. However, the excitement in his heart and the desire to face a powerful enemy are extremely strong. I still want to challenge Mr. Qing, please. Sun Wukong put his hands together and bent down deeply. Come on. Yang Qing waved his hands indifferently, with a smile on his face. Here, there is no one else. It is an empty field. Sun Wukong thinks that he should be able to enjoy a battle. Slowly, Sun Wukong's face became serious, and he was also ready to attack. At the same time, with a flash of golden aura on his body, he had transformed into a Super Saiyan. Huh! Suddenly, the figure of Sun Wukong disappeared and appeared in front of Yang Qing, punching hard. Yang Qing still had a smile on his face. Facing this punch, his entire body did not leak any breath. What made Sun Wukong's complexion change in the next second was that his punch seemed to pass through the body of the person in front of him. It went through completely, and there was no feeling of hitting the entity. Crap! In an instant, Sun Wukong realized that something was wrong. But it was too late, and a forceful blow hit his forehead. Chapter 777 _ This power was so incomparable that it spread to his whole body even when it just touched his forehead, shaking him to the point of weakness. Immediately afterwards, Sun Wukong flew out like a cannonball. After landing on the ground, he couldn't stop the trend and rolled dozens of somersaults to the back before standing up. After standing up out of breath, Sun Wukong was shocked to see Yang Qing, who was not far away, and was maintaining the movement of flicking his fingers. So strong. Involuntarily, Sun Wukong muttered. He knew very well how terrifying the force that hit his forehead just now. At this time, his forehead was swollen high. When this terrifying force hit his forehead, it spread instantly, turned into a scattered force, spread to his whole body, and then turned into an irresistible impact, knocking him far away. According to the principle, such a sharp, point-based power is extremely penetrating, and it gathers together in an instant, and I am afraid that it can penetrate his forehead in an instant. However, this is not the case. The opponent controls the power perfectly, and in the mastery of the details of the power, it has been almost perfect. With just one blow, Sun Wukong knew the level of the opponent's strength. At the snap of his fingers, he has no resistance. This is a power far beyond his own realm, completely irresistible. My control over my powers is not perfect, if I can reach his level. His eyes slowly lit up. Sun Wukong discovered his own shortcomings, and also knew that there was still room for improvement in his own strength, and this space was extremely huge. Is it okay, Sun Wukong? Yang Qing smiled and retracted his right hand and asked softly. I am not your opponent, you are too strong. Sun Wukong exclaimed, but I will not give up. Haha, well, I expect you to become stronger. Yang Qing laughed loudly. Didn't he come to this time and space just to wait for Sun Wukong to become stronger and fight with him? Nodding, Sun Wukong said goodbye to Yang Qing. Knowing that there was such a powerful opponent, Sun Wukong couldn't wait to become stronger and fight with him, and the news brought by Trunks also made him attach great importance. The incomparably powerful artificial man will destroy the Earth, and his partners will die one by one. How important is the news? Although he is unicellular, he is not stupid. After parting with Sun Wukong, the smile on Yang Qing's face slowly faded, and after a long time, he sighed. After the figure was blurred and twisted, it also disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he came to the Western capital. The Western capital is still on Earth. The Western capital he once saw, not even the coffee shop on the corner or the bakery in the center of Long Street, has not changed. With a strange mood, Yang Qing moved step by step, walking on this strange yet familiar street in Exedu. He silently looked at every store in the western capital, every street, and every person on the street, with expressions of anger or joy. Such a scene was completely invisible in his time and space, and all that could be seen there were the ubiquitous ruins. Suddenly, Yang Qing's footsteps stopped, slightly startled. In front of him, in the original western capital, was a martial arts gym named Wu Qingliu, but here, it was replaced by a gymnasium. After regaining his senses, Yang Qing did not say anything, but continued to move forward. After half an hour, he came to a courtyard. The courtyard is incomparably huge. Looking from the outside to the inside, there are swimming pools, gardens, servants and people. At a glance, you can tell that this is a large family with a very good family situation. With a twinkle in his eyes, Yang Qing entered the courtyard. In his time and space, this courtyard belonged to the Yi family. After a while, he came to Yi Qi's room. Looking inside through the window, I saw a handsome and playful face. Yi Qi, Yang Qing murmured. This time and space also has Yi Qi, which is exactly the same as the one he is in. The figure gradually blurred. Yang Qing passed through the window, came to the room, stood behind the woman, looked at her quietly, and did not say a word. Looking around, he found that even the surrounding environment had not changed at all. It was exactly the same time and space as he was in. Suddenly, Yi Qi suddenly turned her head as if she felt something. Looking at each other, Yi Qi's eyes showed a hint of astonishment and surprise, while Yang Qing's eyes were calm and not surprised. Who are you? You don't know me. I've never seen you, how can I know you? The conversation between the two was very fast. After clearly seeing the strangeness in Yi Qi's eyes, Yang Qing's eyes became clear. After thinking for a while, he said softly, "Excuse me, I've got the wrong person." After saying a sentence, Yang Qing's figure quietly blurred, and then disappeared. Disappeared. A look of shock appeared on Yi Qi's face. What she saw just now, a big living person, just disappeared. She shook her head sharply, rubbed her eyes, and looked at the empty room. She affirmed again. Illusion, it must be an illusion. Well, it must be a hallucination. We don't know each other, Young. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Qing also slowly began to determine one thing. Maybe, in this time and space, I really don't exist. There was a dazzling light in his eyes. Now, as long as he goes to the realm of the gods and confirms again, there must be nothing wrong. The figure gradually blurred, and Yang Qing teleported towards Zhuang Shengxing. In just an instant, the scenery beside him began to change. After reappearing, Yang Qing was in front of the familiar scenery of the Zhuang Temple, a large daisy-shaped palace. Wearing the unique costume of the Realm King, Yang Qing walked slowly towards the Zhuang Temple. After a while, he had arrived at the Temple of the Realm King. Boy, who are you? Come here all of a sudden. As soon as he entered the palace, a tall figure blocked him and shouted in a deep voice. Yang Qing laughed after seeing it. Jades. I'm not Jades, my name is Jabit. Who are you? Jabit asked coldly. Hearing such an answer, Yang Qing was taken aback for a moment, and some did not react. Two people with the same face, but not the same name. He turned his head again and looked at the Kaiking god sitting in the depths. In the same way, unfamiliar eyes looked at him with a surprised expression. Chapter 778 Unique. In the depths of the palace, the eyes of those eyes contained strangeness and curiosity, but they were far from the vicissitudes and rich experience of the Realm King in Yang Qing's time and space. For a time, Yang Qing himself doubted whether he had come to the wrong time and space. This is not the Kaiwang god. For the first time, such thoughts flowed in Yang Qing's heart. The divine light in those eyes was undoubtedly young and playful, far less mature and profound than the god of time and space realm where he was. However, the same appearance and breath of the two made him suppress this idea for a while. Who are you? In the same way, Zhuang floated up and slowly walked towards Yangqing. Yangqing didn't say a word for a while, but just aimed his gaze at Zhuang and observed it carefully. When he got here, he has determined that this time and space has no own existence at all. And, for some reason, the two time and space are not exactly the same, such as Jabes and Jabit, and then these two Kaiwang gods. They are one person, yes, but not one person. My name is Qing, and I have met Lord Realm King God. When the Realm King came to him, Yangqing smiled and saluted. Qing, I don't know you, the Realm King asked suspiciously. Also, the aura on your body. You are also a realm god. The Realm King was even more surprised. The divine aura on Yangqing's body was difficult for mortals to feel, but for him, it was clear. I am the god of the reserve realm. Yangqing nodded. Reservists. Zhuang was taken aback for a moment, then nodded clearly. What's the matter with you coming here? Yangqing shook his head. It was time to confirm that he had already confirmed it. Since there is no shadow of himself even here, then, in this world, he is indeed unique. Just to confirm one thing, now, I have confirmed it. Kaiwangshan and Jabit looked at each other with a confused look on their faces. So, I'll take my leave. Yangqing didn't say much, the figure distorted and disappeared here. The king's temple was quiet again, and the King of Kings and Jabit were stunned for a while, and then their eyes became solemn. This guy is very powerful. His divine power, I feel faintly, has far surpassed me. Where is the holy place? The feeling of the Realm King is not wrong. In Yangqing's eyes, the realm of this time and space is far less powerful than him in the future time and space, and it can't even be compared in terms of Xinsheng. The realm of the future time and space is powerful, intelligent, and knowledgeable. He is always calm and confident, like a king. But this realm god seemed much younger and more impetuous. The two time and space are the same, but they are not the same. Yangqing's eyes flashed and he came to this conclusion. At this moment, Yangqing is standing in the void universe, clearly visible in front of him, a huge incomparable galactic vortex, slowly rotating, incomparably spectacular. In the depths, a heavy aura was exuded towards the outside. The figure fluttered slowly, and Yangqing's figure disappeared here again. When he appeared, he arrived at the location of Star Vegeta. Looking at the scene ahead quietly, Yangqing's eyes did not fluctuate. The Saiyan family in this time and space is really destroyed. Countless planetary debris is floating, and the original traces on the Saiyan planet can be faintly seen. Although they are few, they can also be distinguished, the shadow of Vegeta. Shaking his head, Yangqing suddenly wanted to understand something. It is precisely because of the destruction of Star Vegeta in this time and space, and the extinction of Saiyans, that the family's luck is completely condensed on Sun Wukong, Vegeta and others, and they will make such huge progress in the future. And in the future, there are too many Saiyans. Fortune gathers and condenses on one person, then it is only natural that this person is the protagonist. In this time and space, the protagonists are Monkey King and Vegeta. The two of them bear the luck of the Saiyan nation and are naturally extremely powerful. Moreover, their progress is incomparably fast, powerful and terrifying. There was a flash in his eyes, and a smile appeared in Yangqing's eyes. That's what makes it even more interesting. Their strength, in the future, will also help themselves and make themselves stronger. The figure blurred again, and Yangqing disappeared in place. 3 days later, in the sky above the earth, in the realm of the gods. The old god looked at the smiling, very young stranger in front of him. His whole body was trembling and shaking slightly. Bean-sized sweat continued to seep from his forehead and dripped onto the ground. You don't have to be nervous, I'm just going to rest on earth for a while. Yangqing comforted Tianxian Dao softly. He naturally knew what kind of impact the heavy divine power on his body would have on the other party, and I'm afraid it would be difficult for the other party to even move. God said with difficulty. Call me Qing. Yang Qing reluctantly removed the divine power from his entire body and let the gods breathe out a heavy breath, much more relaxed. Do you want to rest here? The gods still dared not call Yang Qing's name directly. He knew deeply that the opponent's strength far exceeded his imagination. Yeah. Yang Qing nodded. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Standing on the edge of the realm of the gods, Yang Qing looked at the earth, and the eyes of reincarnation appeared. With divine power, he could clearly see what happened in any corner of the earth. Humans who were busy working, busy in lively streets, and Sun Wukong, who was practicing hard in remote areas. 2 years later, an artificial man will destroy the earth. The Sun Wukong family, Chi-Chi, and Sun Wufan were all taken aback. Ha, yes, Sun Wukong said with a smile. God, Wukong, hurry up and cultivate, I want to make Gohan a scholar. Chi-Chi worried. Don't worry, haha. Sun Wukong didn't have much to worry about, he only had anticipation for future battles. At the same time, he touched Sun Wufan's head. Gohan, you have to follow me to practice. Kiki was stunned for a moment, then nodded helplessly. Although she usually likes to make trouble without reason, but at this critical juncture, she can still distinguish the importance of it. Gohan, come on. Well, Dad. The father and son ran and quickly disappeared towards the mountains. Meanwhile, at Boomer's house, Vegeta looked at the gravity space in front of her with a cold expression, and her eyes were thoughtful. Sun Wukong, after cultivating here, he made rapid progress and turned into a Super Saiyan. Chapter 779 Going to the Demon World. Muttering a word, Vegeta stepped into the gravity room with a resolute look, and began his arduous practice. He himself is not only a talented Saiyan prince, but also a hard-working warrior. Compared with Sun Wukong, the hardships he experienced in his cultivation are not bad at all. Repeated failures, repeated trials and tribulations made him hold a sigh of relief. Especially after encountering Sun Wukong, it made his heart feel tight. It was unforgivable for a mere Saiyan warrior to show the limelight in front of him over and over again. Standing on the edge of the god realm, Yang Qing could see everything below clearly, and out of the corner of his eyes, he could also see the nervous expression of the gods. Although he has regained his momentum, the suppression of the dimensional level is also very obvious to the gods. Shaking his head with a chuckle, it seems that I am here, making you too stressed. Tiantian was stunned for a moment, then reacted, shaking his head like a rattle. No, no. Ha ha. Yang Qing felt even more amused when he saw the appearance of a childlike Tiantian. After laughing loudly, his figure strayed, twisted and disappeared in front of Tiantian. No, it's gone. Suddenly, there was nothing in front of him, and the gods were a little sluggish. Yang Qing, who had left the gods, found a secluded place on earth, built a wooden house, drank tea, meditated, and practiced every day, and it was very relaxing. In this way, time passed slowly. On this day, Yang Qing got up as usual, walked into the yard, and fiddled with the bright flowers. These flowers grow in the mountains, but they reveal a fresh and good temperament. The faint fragrance is constantly radiating out, which is refreshing and refreshing. Moreover, the blue and red are very beautiful in the early morning sun. The morning sun is bright but not dazzling, it is very gentle. Yang Qing enjoys this quiet feeling, which makes people's hearts infected and very calm. In such a situation, cultivation is also very effective, the mind is clear, the body and limbs are not stiff, and the body can quickly memorize the moves and turn them into instincts. Slowly punching, stretching his muscles and bones, Yang Qing smiled, very comfortable. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked in a certain direction. Interesting, it turned out to be him. A smile appeared on his face. Yang Qing felt very interesting. The breath he felt was a person who had long since become blurred in his memory. But unexpectedly, it appeared at this time. The person who came was huge and evil, just like Frieza, who was Frieza's brother. Beulah, who was killed by his younger brother's father, came to Earth this time to seek revenge from Sun Wukong. At the same time, their ruthless family was also to prove their strength. The mere Saiyans, the wild monkeys, can also be the opponents of the Frieza family. On a quiet morning, the battle started quietly. Sun Wukong, Sun Wufan, Helan, Piccolo and a group of Earth warriors who were cultivating were caught off guard by the sudden arrival of space warriors. Yang Qing stood in front of the wooden house, with divine light in his eyes, and he could see everything in front of him clearly. After 3 breaths, he felt a little bored. The result of the battle is extremely obvious. No matter how powerful Gyula is, he is not Sun Wukong's opponent. Sun Wukong, who defeated Frieza, was like opening the seal, and his strength was advancing at an extremely terrifying speed. Along the way, any enemy who tries to stop him will be smashed to pieces. His eyes flashed, and he suddenly thought of something. At present, maybe he is the only one who can fight me. Yang Qing's power at this time, even he does not know how powerful it is. With the combination of divine power, coupled with the terrifying explosive power of Super Saiyan 3, and the original combat power that has been accumulated for a long time, the superposition of several major points, I am afraid that the birth of the Devil Boo will not be Yang Qing's opponent for a while. The opponents he could think of, apart from Sha, who was placed in the past, were only the gods in the sky. But the gods are distributed in various universes, and if he has a way to travel through the universe, he can only give up. Demon Realm. In the world of Longzhu, in addition to the mortal universe, there are various clues that indicate that there is a demon world in this world. Whether it is the demon he encountered in the future time and space, or the Dapra who appeared in the original book, they all came from the demon world. If you don't move your body for a long time, it will rust. After stretching his waist, a sharp smile appeared in Yang Qing's eyes. In the early morning, when he saw others fighting, he had to say that his heart was a little bit about to move. Saiyans are a fighting family. What is the difference between Saiyans who do not fight and salted fish? Demon Realm. Closing his eyes, Yang Qing first felt it in the universe. After leaning for a while, he did not find the unique evil aura of the Devil World, so he decided that the Devil World was also in a different dimension. I don't know the coordinates of the different dimensional space, so I can't break in directly, but someone should know. His eyes lit up, and Yang Qing's figure disappeared in place. A quarter of an hour later, Yang Qing looked at the short-statured divination mother-in-law wearing a wizard hat with a smile on her face. Boy, you promised me that after death, let me go to heaven. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. No problem, divination mother-in-law, don't worry. The fortune-telling mother-in-law repeatedly confirmed that the young man on the opposite side agreed to his request, and then he was relieved. Half an hour ago, this person suddenly appeared in front of him, startling him. Then, he put forward his request to go to the demon world, which made her heart tremble. What a joke, there are evil and powerful demons in the demon world. Just releasing one is a terrifying existence that can destroy the earth. This kid actually wants to go to the devil world. Simply bold and ignorant. But after the other party made a request to help him go to heaven, the divination mother-in-law hesitated. Because she knows that heaven is not so easy to go to. After many people die, it is the soul waiting to be reincarnated and start over. Only those heroes who have made great contributions can go to heaven. In particular, she could faintly feel that the seemingly gentle young man in front of her had a divine power that suppressed her. She had also felt this breath in the gods, but this young man was much stronger than the gods. Chapter 780 What is this young man's identity? The divination mother-in-law kept guessing in her heart, but she couldn't come up with a result. She is a mortal, and she really doesn't know much about the clergy of the heavens. But she can confirm that the other party can indeed fulfill her promise. He does have the ability to get himself to heaven. Hurry up and open the entrance to the demon world, divination mother-in-law. Yang Qing said with a smile. Seeing the confident look on the other's face, as if she was in control of everything, the divination mother-in-law gave a stern expression and snorted. "Don't forget what you promised me." Hem. Yang Qing nodded with a smile in his eyes. His heart was already boiling with enthusiasm, and in the face of the upcoming battle, the Saiyan's natural blood made him almost unable to hold back. After taking a deep look at Yang Qing, the divination mother-in-law chanted a particularly long incantation. With the spell of the divination mother-in-law, Yang Qing's eyes narrowed, and he clearly felt that the void in front of him was rippling, layer upon layer, and the fluctuations became more and more violent, as if the next moment would completely boil. After a full 3 minutes and 35 seconds, the divination mother-in-law had just finished reciting the spell. At this time, her face was pale, and her forehead was covered with sweat, as if she had collapsed. "Put this amulet on. The demon world is extremely dangerous. What I open is only the marginal area. Once you encounter a danger that you cannot face, immediately smash this amulet and it will bring you back to Earth." As the divination mother-in-law spoke, a talisman flew out of her arms and landed on Yang Qing's hand. He probably glanced at the wrinkled and messy talisman. Yang Qing didn't see what effect the talisman would have, but he didn't say anything. He didn't understand much about the strange time. Putting the talisman in his pocket, he continued to watch the fortune-telling mother-in-law's movements. Gradually, ripples began to appear in the space, and a pitch-black vortex appeared. In the center of the vortex, a hole or cave appeared. At this time, the divination mother-in-law's tone also became anxious. "Quick, get into it, I can't last long." Yang Qing did not hesitate, bent down, and drilled into the hole and cave that appeared. "Thanks, fortune-telling mother-in-law, I will remember what I promised you." Before entering completely, Yang Qing's clear voice entered the ears of the divination mother-in-law. Just before the voice dissipated, Yang Qing's figure also completely entered the opened gate. "Woo!" The fortune-telling mother-in-law let out a heavy sigh and looked at the space she had filled in front of her, feeling very tired. Opening the door to the demon world is not easy for her, and it takes a lot of physical and mental energy. And the reason why she agreed with Yang Qing to go to the demon realm was because she faintly felt the bottomless terrifying pressure on the other side. For mortals, divine power may not be sensed yet, but for gods, for people like her, it can naturally form suppression. What kind of identity is this young man? She still remembered how shocked she was when she saw the young man for the first time and felt the faint pressure on him. That vast divine might almost suffocated her. This is also the reason why she can rest assured that the other party will go to the devil world. There are many experts in the devil world, and others don't know it, but she knows it very well. She still remembered that she had observed the demon world several times, and the power emanating from each demon made her feel extremely frightened. Compared with these evil devils, the martial arts masters on Earth, the turtle immortals, are like a piece of shit. On the other side, Yang Qing, who plunged into the demon world, was looking at a group of demons waiting for him with green eyes, staring at him, a little embarrassed. He also did not expect that as soon as he entered this demon world, he would be able to face the demons face to face. Staring at each other, big eyes and small eyes, the atmosphere was dull for a moment. "Hi." Yang Qing tried to say hello to see if these demons could understand. Then, the next moment. Roar. The stench came from the mouths of the 5 or 6 demons in front, and the violent eyes stared at Yang Qing coldly, making him uncomfortable. At the same time, the sharp claws of the demons also waved towards Yang Qing fiercely. How impolite. Shaking his head helplessly, Yang Qing has discovered that these low-level demons have no IQ, just like wild animals and beasts, they act entirely on instinct. He unceremoniously threw his fist and slammed into the front. Bang! The shadows of the fists flew and fell on the low-level demons at almost the same time. In an instant, the movements of the demons became still, motionless. Yang Qing walked up and walked past the devil. When he walked away completely, the demons swelled up, and then, bang, all exploded into a bloody fog. The demon world is huge, the sky is a gloomy golden color, but it is like hell. The ground is extremely desolate, and there is basically no vegetation. If it is not for these demons who only know how to kill and kill, this place is completely another hell. Moreover, the temperature in the demon world is very high, and ordinary humans will be roasted in a short time here. Even the warriors with strong combat power come here, but due to the environment, their combat power will be weakened and become weaker. Yang Qing walked all the way, walking towards the depths of the demon world. Speaking of which, this demon world is huge. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. But the structure is very simple. It appears in a circle all day long, and the closer it is to the center, the higher the level of the demons. Except for the low-level demons in the edge area, who have no wisdom. If you walk 300 miles in, these demons will already have lower wisdom. Flying into the sky, Yang Qing was too lazy to waste time and flew directly towards the center of the demon world. While Yang Qing was flying towards the depths of the demon world, the edge of the demon world was 30,000 miles away, in a mountain canyon. Abby, are we really going to blow up the devil's lair? A little boy who was only 14 or 15 years old said with a trembling voice. The one named Abby is an 18-year-old girl. There is no fear in her eyes, she is very strong. Yes, we must blow up the demon's lair, otherwise, our world will be destroyed by them. Then, she turned her head and said to the little boy. Lala, for the sake of our people and the world, you have to be strong. But, why don't the adults do this, but let our 2 children do it? Lala was about to cry. Because they are cowards.